Part 55. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 554. Not only Catania, but also Palermo. The three of them lost the entire Sicily, and why did they not return the military? Duke Raysam said indignantly. I'm afraid they don't want to, but they have no chance. Prince Nicholas interrupted the blood source horizon. They are not suppressed, they have already fallen. This is impossible. With the strength of the Duke of Nephile, who can suppress or destroy the three blood ancestors? I can't think of it unless. The Marquis of Cephas suddenly burst into tears. He whispered, is the Church of the Glorious Lord. Glorious power has great restraint on the abyss demons, non-death spirits, and vampires. The same rank can be said to have the advantage, which is why the former glorious church can suppress the entire Orient world and firmly suppress all the dark forces. The biggest reason. The disappearance of the vampire ancestors of the three legendary ranks made the atmosphere in the palace instantly less pleasant, although now sitting in the entire Italy kingdom, occupying a bustling and prosperous place in the world of Orient, but everyone's heart it is not so stable, because of the existence of the Holy City Vatican and the Church of the Glorious Lord. Prince Nicholas has been silent for a long time. This may be a conspiracy of the Church, or it may be a trap that has long been set. The disappearance of the three vampires, unless the Church of the Glorious Church dispatches the most powerful sanctuary, consumes them. The only remaining power, otherwise it will never be possible, and other forces are even more impossible. We can't act rashly until everything is investigated. After all, the dark power was suppressed by the Church of the Glorious Lord for 2000 years. What a long time, for everyone who has had a painful memory. Prince, the Church of the Glorious Lord is the enemy of our entire dark parliament. At the beginning of the capital of the dead, everyone joined forces to eliminate the entire Church of the Glorious Lord. Now most of them are shrinking in the Franconian plain, but there is also a holy city in the country of our blood family. Why not summon the great people of all ethnic groups and flatten the holy city one by one? Even if we don't get the city, it's better than the whole day. The Marquis of Cephas proposed a suggestion. The territory of the Cephas family can be said to be the first line facing the Holy City Vatican. He cannot sleep peacefully every night. How do you see them? Prince Nicholas chose to listen to everyone's opinions. It's still a fight, even if you try it out. Let's put a so-called holy city around us. We are not at ease. Our family still has a lot of good young people left in the small plain, for fear of being taught by the church. One pot is over, said the Duke of Raysam. Other vampires have nodded their ancestors, and everyone has the feeling of sitting on a volcanic eruption that is about to erupt. Prince Nicholas thought for a long time and slowly said, when the Dark Parliament was founded, few people could expect the situation to be as smooth as it is now. The Rhineland and the Kingdom of Italy have already sought out for the Holy Norman Empire and the Kingdom of France. The next offensive is also being planned. At present, bards and the demon monarch must hope to quickly conquer the two most powerful empire of mankind, and our blood family is pressed against the volcano, the Church of the Glorious Lord. It has been brilliant for 2000 years, they will never have any movements, and our situation is indeed very subtle. The words of Prince Nicholas made the vampires really face each other. The Dark Council is undoubtedly the main force of the Abyss Demon and the Undead Spirit. However, they chose to attack the Holy Norman Empire and France first. Naturally, it is impossible to challenge the siege at this time. The main church, the tyrannical master, really a guy with ulterior motives, is really against our noble blood family. Another Nicholas Marquis was indignant. The Dark Council is just a loose alliance. Our blood family must have their own plans for the future. This is also the original intention of me to convene everyone to hold this meeting. Prince Nicholas looked at everyone who was doing. We have already completed our initial goals. Occupy the Kingdom of Italy, in addition to the commercial city of Venice. What should I do next? Grazing blood, strengthen the strength. The population of the Kingdom of Italy is more than 20 million. This is a very rich source of blood energy, which can greatly increase the strength of our ethnic groups and individuals. With sufficient blood supply, we can train a large number of high-ranking vampires, the vampire count of the masters, and even our blood ancestors, and can further develop a more powerful blood source. The Duke of Rasham proposed the most pertinent and most stable solution. We must find faithful allies. If the mind mage is not colluding with the shadow sorcerer, they are not qualified for Venice. We must not face the glory of the Lord's Parliament alone, the Marquis of Cephas screamed at the table. Who is trustworthy, said the Marquis of Nisig, indignantly. The abyssal demon is not the original species of our world, the soul of death and the body are more terrible than us, only the dark elves look noble and elegant. But they are all group women's rights madmen. In their eyes, we are just low-lying men, and they are not respected at all. The present age has been called the year of turmoil by humans, not only for the turmoil of the bright camp, but also for the turmoil of the entire Orient world. In fact, after the glory of the Lord left, the entire Orient lost the most powerful gods, whether it is the abyss demons or the undead kings, including the spiders. They are seeking the possibility of real God. Once they achieve the true God, then we can only succumb to the people, let others slaughter. Prince Nicholas said with a sad face. So, Prince, what should we do? The Marquis of Cephas quickly picked up. Everyone knows that the Marquis of Cephas is the megaphone and the best running dog of His Royal Highness, so they are silent. Our noble blood family must also establish a church of faith. Use faith to unite the hearts of the people and create a road to the gods. Prince Nicholas finally threw an important issue, which is why he called the 13 true ancestors. Reason. A true ancestors, a church must have a true God, even if it is a demigod. The 9 true ancestors and Prince Nicholas have a large gap. It is obviously impossible to compete for this position. His Royal Highness, have you reached the stage where you can gather your faith, gather your divine power and even ignite the fire, said the Duke of Rasham, who trembled and broke the silence. Yes, in the process of conquering the Kingdom of Italy, I finally broke through the last layer of insight and understood the mystery of the demigod. Prince Nicholas revealed a mysterious smile. P.S. Today's update has not been written yet. I am very sorry, I will replace it after I finish. This is impossible. With the strength of the Duke of Nephile, who can suppress or destroy the 3 blood ancestors? I can't think of it unless. The Marquis of Cephas suddenly burst into tears. He whispered, is the Church of the Glorious Lord. Glorious power has great restraint on the abyss demons, non-death spirits, and vampires. The same rank can be said to have the advantage, which is why the former glorious church can suppress the entire Orient world and firmly suppress all the dark forces. The biggest reason. The disappearance of the vampire ancestors of the 3 legendary ranks made the atmosphere in the palace instantly less pleasant, although now sitting in the entire Italy kingdom, occupying a bustling and prosperous place in the world of Orient, but everyone's heart it is not so stable, because of the existence of the Holy City Vatican and the Church of the Glorious Lord. Prince Nicholas has been silent for a long time. This may be a conspiracy of the Church, or it may be a trap that has long been set. The disappearance of the 3 vampires, unless the Church of the Glorious Church dispatches the most powerful sanctuary, consumes them. The only remaining power, otherwise it will never be possible, and other forces are even more impossible. We can't act rashly until everything is investigated. After all, the dark power was suppressed by the Church of the Glorious Lord for 2000 years. What a long time, for everyone who has had a painful memory. Prince, the Church of the Glorious Lord is the enemy of our entire dark parliament. At the beginning of the capital of the dead, everyone joined forces to eliminate the entire Church of the Glorious Lord. Now most of them are shrinking in the Franconian plain, but there is also a holy city in the country of our blood family. Why not summon the great people of all ethnic groups and flatten the holy city one by one? Even if we don't get the city, It's better than the whole day. The Marquis of Cephos proposed a suggestion. The territory of the Cephos family can be said to be the first line facing the Holy City Vatican. He cannot sleep peacefully every night. How do you see them? Prince Nicholas chose to listen to everyone's opinions. It's still a fight, even if you try it out. Let's put a so-called holy city around us. We are not at ease. Our family still has a lot of good young people left in the small plane, for fear of being taught by the church. One pot is over, said the Duke of Raysam. Other vampires have nodded their ancestors, and everyone has the feeling of sitting on a volcanic eruption that is about to erupt. Prince Nicholas thought for a long time and slowly said, when the Dark Parliament was founded, few people could expect the situation to be as smooth as it is now. The Rhineland and the Kingdom of Italy have already sought out for the Holy Norman Empire and the Kingdom of France. The next offensive is also being planned. At present, bards and the demon monarch must hope to quickly conquer the two most powerful empire of mankind, and our blood family is pressed against the volcano, the Church of the Glorious Lord. It has been brilliant for 2,000 years, they will never have any movements, and our situation is indeed very subtle. The words of Prince Nicholas made the vampires really face each other. The Dark Council is undoubtedly the main force of the Abyss Demon and the Undead Spirit. However, they chose to attack the Holy Norman Empire and France first. Naturally, it is impossible to challenge the siege at this time. The main church, the tyrannical master, really a guy with ulterior motives, is really against our noble blood family. Another Nicholas Marquis was indignant. The Dark Council is just a loose alliance. Our blood family must have their own plans for the future. This is also the original intention of me to convene everyone to hold this meeting. Prince Nicholas looked at everyone who was doing. We have already completed our initial goals. Occupy the Kingdom of Italy, in addition to the commercial city of Venice. What should I do next? Grazing blood, strengthen the strength. The population of the Kingdom of Italy is more than 20 million. This is a very rich source of blood energy, which can greatly increase the strength of our ethnic groups and individuals. With sufficient blood supply, we can train a large number of high-ranking vampires, the vampire count of the masters, and even our blood ancestors, and can further develop a more powerful blood source. The Duke of Rasham proposed the most pertinent and most stable solution. We must find loyal allies. If the Mind Mage is not colluding with the Shadow Sorcerer, they are not qualified to occupy Venice. We must not face the glory of the main council, the Marquis shouted at the table. Who is trustworthy, said the Marquis of Nisig, indignantly. The abyssal demon is not the original species of our world. The soul of death and the body are more terrible than us. Only the dark elves look noble and elegant. But they are all group women's rights madmen. In their eyes, we are just low-lying men, and they are not respected at all. The present age has been called the year of turmoil by humans, not only for the turmoil of the Bright Camp, but also for the turmoil of the entire Orient world. In fact, after the glory of the Lord left, the entire Orient lost the most powerful gods, whether it is the abyss demons or the undead kings, including the spiders. They are seeking the possibility of real God. Once they achieve the true God, then we can only succumb to the people, let others slaughter. Prince Nicholas said with a sad face. So, Prince, what should we do? The Marquis of Cephos quickly picked up. Everyone knows that the Marquis of Cephos is the megaphone and the best running dog of His Royal Highness, so they are silent. Our noble blood family must also establish a church of faith. Use faith to unite the hearts of the people and create a road to the gods. Prince Nicholas finally threw an important issue, which is why he called the 13 true ancestors. Reason. A true ancestors, a church must have a true God, even if it is a demigod. The 9 true ancestors and Prince Nicholas have a large gap. It is obviously impossible to compete for this position. His Royal Highness, have you reached the stage where you can gather your faith, gather your divine power and even ignite the fire, said the Duke of Rasham, who trembled and broke the silence. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Du. Chapter 555. So what is the great undead king? How should we deal with this situation? The necromancer named Lafite quickly asked with concern. Reassure, his fiefdom is in the kingdom of Italy, the home of the Church of the Glorious Lord. I don't believe that Pope Benton will sit on Nicholas to harvest the faith, and there will be a good show to watch, Diston, but this information also reminds me that the battle for the belief in the gods has begun. We must speed up. The transformation of the Death Knight has been basically completed. I have added a handful of 5,000 in my hand. The undead army formed by the Death Knight is the time to start preparing for the second undead scourge. I heard that the King of France is a sanctuary strongman, and in parley, there is also a change master called the Fifth Law. I am afraid that this country will not be as easy to conquer as the Rhine. Lafite is the loyal dog in front of the undead king, who plays the role of trying to figure out death, killing, conquering. The process is not important. I only care about death. The era of the deceased must be accompanied by the birth of countless skeletons and the mourning of the soul. The undead King Bades looked at the distant west, the dark sky expand again. This time the country we want to conquer is the Kingdom of France. The Secret Blood Church. These big bats are really funny. In the city of Catania, the younger lady of the morning, Elysian, laughed and said, "He is also qualified. But he just touched the threshold of the half-god." He is right, faith and gods know nothing about it. It's not to build churches and beliefs, Natalia asked curiously. The beliefs of human beings and other intelligent life are not as pure as imagined. When praying or even pilgrimage, there will still be a variety of selfish distractions. This kind of distracting belief will greatly affect the demigod itself. If it accumulates, in the end, it is likely to cause the demigration of the demigod's personality, which is also a great obstacle and burden for the achievement of the true God. Every demigod must carefully select his own believers, instead of arbitrarily expanding the beliefs, but also have enough standards to exempt or to reject distractions, otherwise you will lose yourself even if you can gather your faith. It is impossible to ignite the fire and succeed in closing the gods, Ulixia explained in detail, as the whole of the Ulant world, except for Ms Yinyu and the glory of the Lord, the third is to establish the believer of the church, and her words naturally have a very high degree of credibility. I didn't expect the vampire to stand still, completely ignoring the fall of Sicily. Ziwei shook his head gently. What exactly is Nicholas scripting about? The disappearance of the three vampires is not a serious thing. Perhaps they counted the death of the vampire's true ancestors in the Church of the Glorious Lord, Natalia suddenly said with a smile. This sentence does not even believe her own. However, Ulysses and Ziwei look at each other. Only this seemingly absurd reason can explain why the current situation will appear. Principal Benton 18 has been hiding in the depths of St. Peter's Cathedral. I can't know his move now. Maybe this is an opportunity. Ulixia gently raised her eyebrows. Your morning churches can be secretly held in Catania and Palermo for various religious activities. Of course, they must also be replaced with the traditional costumes of the Church of the Glorious Lord. Ziwei made a suggestion. The pastors and paladins of the morning church were all believers of the Glorious Lord until they were 99 years old, so they can simulate all of this very real enough to deceive the vampire. Then our land of the Italy kingdom will be delayed for some time, Ulixia said with some regrets. There are two major forces in the kingdom of Italy, the Church of the Glorious Lord and the Church of the Blood of the Vampire. This is a rare opportunity to break the bottleneck. We must also modify the original plan because of the potential Sylvester paused, not to mention that Sicily has just been won by us. This island of 100,000 square kilometers lives on more than 1 million people. Violet is still the first time to operate such a large area. It will take some time. Able to maintain stable order and development. Well, then let's do this first. I hope to deepen the misunderstanding between the Church of the Glorious Lord and the Church of the Blood, and there is a more favorable situation. Ulysses agreed with the proposal of Zaiwei and decided to suspend the landing of it in Li. War. In this case, she chose to recruit more Don from Pai Li and began preparing for the next stage. On the outskirts of Catania, the sky at the end of January is already cold and chilly. Although the broken sun has become faint, it still provides light and heat, which makes the temperature of the cold rise a little. On a flat grass, a large group of people gathered around and pointed at the sky as if they saw something very interesting. "Look, it's a magical thing that can carry ordinary people into the sky, very interesting." The onlookers pointed to a metal luster that was parked not far from the ground and had two wheels and huge. The wings' farsightedness is like a flat bird of a big bird. "Really? Even ordinary people can fly to the sky," someone said incredulously. "You should know that although the three-loop spell has a flight, you can let the caster fly in the sky, but this must also be a middle-level magician to play, and can only be effective for himself. Not only that, I have seen the performance of this magical object just now. It flies very fast in the sky. It will lose its trace in a blink of an eye, faster than the magician I have ever seen." Much more, the first 10-year-old boy who spoke with his hands said with excitement. "Really? This big guy looks heavy and can fly." He spoke to a middle-aged man about 30 or 40 years old, some of whom he didn't believe. "Look, there is a bold passenger who is invited to board the plane. Wow, still a noble lady." The young boy suddenly saw a beautiful young woman dressed in costume was invited to get close to this magical object. "Miss Julie, this magical object is the one I designed and assembled. I named it the Flying Man. I have completed more than 30 flight tests and its safety is trustworthy." Violet Fraser, the school's star of tomorrow, dressed in a safari, said elegantly to his companion, "Under the accident, I can bring the beautiful lady back with no harm. Miss Julie is the youngest and most beautiful lady of the city of Catania." After Violet ruled the city and saved their entire family from the vampire, Miss Julie's father, Viscount Edward, chose to vote for Violet's for the first time. "Fraser, I believe in you. After all, you are the famous star of the future of Violet Academy." Miss Julie showed a shy smile, and finally she was on the bench with the help of Fraser. The aircraft was named Flying. Fraser also jumped into the cockpit and closed the door. He put on windproof glasses and started debugging the aircraft. Fraser published a paper entitled Wind Element and Aerodynamics Research in the Journal of Violet, earning him a full 100 arcane points, and with this paper became the first among the students of Violet College. The Samsung Arcane division, so his Violet star is even bigger. Today's update has not been completed. I will replace it when I finish writing. Thank you for your support and understanding. So what is the Great Undead King? How should we deal with this situation? The necromancer named Lafite quickly asked with concern. Reassure, his fiefdom is in the kingdom of Italy, the home of the Church of the Glorious Lord. I don't believe that Pope Benton will sit on Nicholas to harvest the faith, and there will be a good show to watch, Diston, but this information also reminds me that the battle for the belief in the gods has begun. We must speed up. The transformation of the Death Knight has been basically completed. I have added a handful of 5,000 in my hand. The undead army formed by the Death Knight is the time to start preparing for the second undead scourge. I heard that the King of France is a sanctuary strongman, and in Parley, there is also a change master called the Fifth Law. I am afraid that this country will not be as easy to conquer as the Rhine. Lafite is the loyal dog in front of the undead king, who plays the role of trying to figure out death, killing, conquering. The process is not important. I only care about death. The era of the deceased must be accompanied by the birth of countless skeletons and the mourning of the soul. The undead King Bades looked at the distant west, the dark sky expand again. This time the country we want to conquer is the Kingdom of France. The Secret Blood Church. These big bats are really funny. In the city of Catania, the younger lady of the morning, Elysian, laughed and said, "He is also qualified. But he just touched the threshold of the half-god." he is right. Faith and gods know nothing about it. It's not a to build churches and beliefs, Natalia asked curiously. The beliefs of human beings and other intelligent life are not as pure as imagined. When praying or even pilgrimage, there will still be a variety of selfish distractions. This kind of distracting belief will greatly affect the demigod itself. If it accumulates, in the end, it is likely to cause the demigration of the demigod's personality, which is also a great obstacle and burden for the achievement of the true God. Every demigod must carefully select his own believers, instead of arbitrarily expanding the beliefs, but also have enough standards to exempt or to reject distractions, otherwise you will lose yourself even if you can gather your faith. It is impossible to ignite the fire and succeed in closing the gods, Ulixia explained in detail, as the whole of the Ulant world, except for Ms Yenu and the glory of the Lord, the third is to establish the believer of the church, and her words naturally have a very high degree of credibility. I didn't expect the vampire to stand still, completely ignoring the fall of Sicily. Zaiwei shook his head gently. What exactly is Nicholas scripting about? The disappearance of the 3 vampires is not a serious thing. Perhaps they counted the death of the vampire's true ancestors in the Church of the Glorious Lord, Natalia suddenly said with a smile. This sentence does not even believe her own. However, Ulysses and Zaiwei look at each other. Only this seemingly absurd reason can explain why the current situation will appear. Principal Benton 18 has been hiding in the depths of St. Peter's Cathedral. I can't know his move now. Maybe this is an opportunity. Ulixia gently raised her eyebrows. Your morning churches can be secretly held in Catania and Palermo for various religious activities. Of course, they must also be replaced with the traditional costumes of the Church of the Glorious Lord. Zaiwei made a suggestion. The pastors and paladins of the morning church were all believers of the Glorious Lord until so they can simulate all of this very real enough to deceive the vampire. Then our land of the Itanli kingdom will be delayed for some time, Ulixia said with some regrets. There are 2 major forces in the kingdom of Itanli, the Church of the Glorious Lord and the Church of the Blood of the Vampire. This is a rare opportunity to break the bottleneck. We must also modify the original plan because of the potential. Sylvester paused, not to mention that Sicily has just been won by us. This island of 100,000 square kilometers lives on more than 1 million people. Violet is still the first time to operate such a large area. It will take some time. Able to maintain stable order and development. Well, then let's do this first. I hope to deepen the misunderstanding between the Church of the Glorious Lord and the Church of the Blood, and there is a more favorable situation. Ulysses agreed with the proposal of Zaiwei and decided to suspend the landing of Itanli. War. In this case, she chose to recruit more Don from Pili and began preparing for the next stage. On the outskirts of Catania, the sky at the end of January is already cold and chilly. Although the broken sun has become faint, it still provides light and heat, which makes the temperature of the cold rise a little. On a flat grass, a large group of people gathered around and pointed at the sky as if they saw something very interesting. Look, it's a magical thing that can carry ordinary people into the sky. Very interesting. The onlookers pointed to a metal luster that was parked not far from the ground and had 2 wheels and huge. The wings' farsightedness is like a flat bird of a big bird. Really? Even ordinary people can fly to the sky, someone said incredulously. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 556. The hard-growing twigs finally bloomed brightly, and Zaiwei's heart was very gratified. For Zaiwei, who is a stranger, Violet is his home and his concern. Although Zaiwei now has little time to teach the students of Violet, he will update at least some simple micro-courses, small experiments and spelling techniques in the Silver Spell list every week. Every Violet student can watch directly. This series of micro-courses is very popular, almost just uploaded and published. there will be very high reading and participation. Almost all students, including teachers, are reluctant to miss the guidance of President Ziwei. The elemental inscription system constructed by Ziwei is the most important and largest magic school in the whole of Violet. More than 80% of the Violet magicians have chosen the major element school. Because of this, the students of Violet have respect and admiration for Ziwei, but they are not too alienated and strange to him. Moreover, when the catastrophe is in the catastrophe, the president of Ziwei screams and screams against the catastrophe of the world. The entire Violet and the great achievements of the 6 islands are seen by every Violet. Tree's research on aircraft may be based on hobbies, but this is clearly a very promising, but not difficult to achieve branch. Although Ziwei has been able to do this step long ago, with his current status, it is impossible for one person to take all the theory, practice, and design all over. He hopes that the Violet and the Arcanists can think independently. And the spirit of research experiments. Every new arcane master is promoted by a valuable arcane thesis. Under the Arcane Review Committee, Ziwei intends to set up an arcane promotion practice department to specifically guarantee and promote those that are more practical. The value of the arcane thesis directly links the theory of arcanism with the development of civilization, generating a large amount of economic value and other values. Trees and his flying are undoubtedly a very good subject, which will also inspire other arcans or magicians to make Violet's development a step faster. But now, Ziwei is not only the Lord of Violet. His territory has not only increased the 6 islands, but also added the largest island in the Golden Sea, Sicily. Now, as the Lord of Sicily, Ziwei is thinking more. Good governance, the first of which is to build bridges and paving roads. Magic is the first productive force. This sentence is the truth in the continent of Orient. Some magicians of the Violet master the elemental inscription system, especially after in-depth study of the inscriptions on the earth elements. The mastery of the earth elements is profound. It played a huge role in the construction of the new 6 islands. In a short period of time, a large number of roads, functional buildings, and houses were built according to the design drawings. Now, these powerful magic construction teams have come to Catania and Palermo with the Violet. A wide and smooth road connecting the 2 cities of Sicily is being constructed separately from the 2 cities, at a very fast speed. Extended and connected in about half a month. The roads laid by the magician are flat, sturdy, and not easily deformed. They are all composed of gray-white stone mixed with a dark blue magic additive. They can prevent corrosion and reduce daily wear. The effect is no less than that of the world. Road. The vehicle, which is also popular, has quickly become popular in Sicily. After several successive improvements, the cost and sales price of the Windmobile are now very low, and it can be used for half a year for ordinary adults. The degree to which 1 year's income is bought. And those small aristocrats, businessmen, gentlemen, and even professionals can buy a car without heartache, riding fast and steady on the newly built flat road, very popular. The roads and buildings that have been in disrepair in the city are also included in the renovation plan. They will be rebuilt in batches within half a year, and large areas of slums will be demolished. These poor people will collectively move into high-rise dormitory buildings, although it's small, but it's far better than the houses they've been so short that they can't shelter from the wind and rain. At the same time, the various garments produced by the Violet Garment Factory began to be dumped throughout Sicily. These garments are handsome, warm, and wear-resistant, and the price is not extravagant. It is also very popular among the general public. With the harvest of the Smurfs in the morning, the food reserves of Ziwei have been very rich, so he took out a small portion and supplied the people of Sicily at a low price, which eased the recent rapid rise due to the war. Food price. The 4 peoples are most concerned about the most needed aspects, and both Ziwei and Violet have made great improvements and contributions, which has made Ziwei, the new Lord of Sicily, from aristocratic to ordinary in a very short time. With the support of the villagers and even the poor and slaves, the foundation of the rule quickly stabilized. After receiving the instructions of Elijah, some members of the morning church replaced the Protestant robe, put on the glorious robe of the past, and began secret prayers in some churches in Catania and Palermo. And the party, these conditions were quickly scouted by the secret agent sent by Prince Nicholas, which also confirmed his guess. Prince Nicholas even dared not act rashly, but bury his head in the development of his secret blood church, and at the same time began to secretly seek a more reliable ally, secretly raising a big move to the Church of the Glorious Lord. 3 months, after up to 3 months, no matter how the form changes, the Arcane Corps and I will follow you steadily to launch an offensive against the vampire and board the kingdom of Italy. Ziwei was a little embarrassed. Eurychia made a promise. After all, she has now taken Sicily, but Ulixia has nothing. Although the strength of the Arcane Corps is 10 times that of the Knights of the Dawn, the Lord of the Dawn is a semi-god with great fighting power, and its importance cannot be overestimated. I believe in your ethics, Ziwei. You have given me too much help and don't ask for a return. Ulixia didn't look very anxious. I am looking forward to seeing the next glory, the changes in the main church. If I were the Pope, I could not tolerate the Church of the Secret Blood to expand the spread of faith. The kingdom of Italy under the rule of vampires is not a monolithic one. The changes here are easily detected by various forces. As the undead king Bade's guest, the Church of the Blood grew up at an alarming rate, not just all. The vampires joined him and believed in the blood of the Lord Nicholas. Even the people of Italy, who were under the rule, began to deliver their faith to the Lord of the Blood, hoping to become a noble, handsome, and long-lived blood race. These smart people who actively moved closer and delivered their faith quickly got rid of the tragic fate of the blood slaves. They began to assist the vampires in managing the city. The best or the most rewarding people were even given the blood of the blood family and became real vampire. With the existence of these examples, plus the blood race is the future direction of human evolution. After the glory of the Lord has left, the Lord of the Blood will become the asylum seeker of all human beings. The vast majority of the original devout glory of the believers converted to the Lord of the Blood. The entire secret blood church is really snowballing. Every day is a big development, a great leap forward. If Oiric's intelligence is true, Pope Benton XVIII really jumped to the semi-god above the sanctuary, so ambitious, he could never endure the believers belonging to the Church of the Glorious Lord being drawn into such a large area. The Church of the Secret Blood, after all, he is the successor to the glory of the Lord. These believers should have contributed to his faith. So now, Ulixia is holding an optimistic attitude and looking at the holy city of Vatican in the far north. Pope Benton XVIII, who has shaken the basics, can't sit still. In fact, as Oiric had expected, Benton's 18th, who had been in the depths of St. Peter's Cathedral and mastered the power of God while planning how to transform the Church of the Glorious Lord, finally couldn't sit still, when he got the Lord of Glory. After the power in the image, he was pleasantly surprised to discover that although the Lord of Glory had left, he still could gain a glimmer of faith from the believers of the devout believers. This made him not only weak but also weakened. However, the establishment of the Church of the Secret Blood is a very dangerous event. It is necessary to know that with the departure of the Lord of Glory and the emergence of the catastrophe, the whole glory of the faith and the continent of Valant belong to a large-scale collapse. Since God does not save people, who believes in God? So now believers who believe in the Lord of Glory are no longer one, and not so devout. Most of these believers are gathered in the kingdom of Eden, because in fact the Church of the Glorious Lord protects the human enjoyment here. A peaceful time of 2000 years. The blood of the Lord Nicholas, this is the battle of faith. I am not dead with you. Pope Benton XVIII finally stood up straight, and walked out from the secret room of St. Peter's Basilica. When he stood in the sun again, even the faint catastrophe of the faint yellow seems to be much brighter. On the stairs of the cathedral, almost all the high rises of the church are divided into 2 rows, one by one standing quietly, welcoming the new future. God of light. From today, I am the Lord of the Sun, infinity. Although the Father has left Orient, I will inherit his will and shelter all human beings. When the blazing sun shines again on the whole land, it is my glory. Going to the throne, when the sun is achieved, infinity finally changed his real name. From this moment on, he is no longer Pope Benton XVIII, but the Lord of the Sun, the future Sun God. There are countless stars in the entire Orient world, but there is only one sun and one moon. Silver Moon Lady Elena is the moon is her incarnation, and from this moment, infinity does not hesitate to declare that his future pursuit is the achievement of the Sun God. Moreover, his discourse also revealed a lot of meanings. First of all, he still recognizes the status of the Father, the glory of the Lord. After the promotion of the demigod, infinity knows that he can penetrate the cosmic wall system. In the hundreds of millions of worlds, how powerful is the glory of the Supreme God? Therefore, he unknowingly hangs the title of the Father's successor. Sheltering all human beings means that the entire 3 billion people of the world of Orient can be believers in the Lord of the Sun, and infinity's appetite is terrible. However, this is not that he is too arrogant. During the nearly 1-month meditation, he repeatedly thought about it and finally confirmed one thing, that is, only let the former glorious lords regain their former devout faith. This is the only way to increase your faith the fastest. To this end, infinity must raise the flag of war, challenge the Dark Council, and shelter those who are trembled in despair before the dark frenzy, so that they can return to the Lord's embrace. After all, the Lord of Glory has only passed for more than 40 days, and everything is still worth it. This also means that the sacred retreat and the strategy of framing the fringe are outdated, and now everything has to change. The great Lord of the Sun, we pray for prayer, faithful to you, your will on the ground, as in the sky. All the cardinals, paladins, high-ranking priests crouched to the ground. Toward this his former pope, the new owner of the sun, delivered his faith. Infinity nodded with satisfaction, and the top of the Church of the Glorious Lord appeared in front of him more than 90%. What does this mean? It means that more people are optimistic about him, not the Lord of the Morning, and choose to bet on his side. Those who did not appear, naturally, have already traveled to Pili to vote for the Lord of the Morning and the Church of the Morning. At this point, the Church of the Glorious Lord has completely become the past. This is the most powerful and powerful force in the world of the Orient world. The first force of the 2000 years of power is divided into two. The Lord of the Sun, infinity, is divided into 80% of the heritage, and the morning sun Lord Elysia is only divided into 20%. The vampire Nicholas established the Church of the Secret Blood. This is a false religion. The people of the Kingdom of Italy are being tortured by aliens. We must attack, crusade the vampires and save the people in suffering. We will use warmth to bring them back to faith. Clear the line with the vampire. Infinity, the owner of the sun, directly announced the most urgent and most important thing to do. I have no objection, 6 cardinals agreed. The remnant knights can attack at any time. The head of the former glorious knights, the sanctuary strongman Maldini with the mouth. Infinity's Lord Infinity nodded with satisfaction. This time, I have to go out in person. Nicholas is not worthy of the title of the Lord of the Blood. He and his secret blood church are the first enemy of me, must be eliminated as soon as possible. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 557. The sacred calendar in 1788 is a very important era in the history of the European Union. In the eyes of later historians, this is a super-rich treasure that has been enriched to the extreme. Just look for a perspective and a force to dig lightly. It is the research topic of value. In February 1788, the sacred calendar known as the beginning of the turmoil, Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, appeared on the mainland of Ireland as the heir to the glory, and integrated the power of the majority of the original glory. This is undoubtedly a shock. Human events. Many desperate people seem to have seen the light and hope again. The great Lord of the Sun, Infinity, appeared in St. Peter's Square in front of the holy city of St. Peter's Basilica, which is the largest square in the whole of the world. Can accommodate 500,000 people. The construction of this square lasted for 11 years. There is a stone column around the square. The column is engraved with the glorious Lord Church. For 1,000 years, a saint, a sanctuary, and a legendary strongman, a total of 140. At the very center of the square stands an obelisk carved from a super stone pillar transported from the distant Afik mainland, and the top is carved into a bust of the Lord of the Father. Those who are not qualified to enter the interior of St. Peter's Cathedral often come to St. Peter's Basilica at the time of the Mass and hold large-scale prayers. Here, Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, gave a speech and showed sacredness, which made more than 300,000 original glory believers pray for prayer, delivered the faith to him, and became a believer in the Lord of the Sun. The power organs and main institutions of the original glorious church have changed their faces and peacefully evolved into the institution of the Lord's Church. Apart from the disappearance of a few large figures, other cardinals, high-ranking paladins, and other big figures have once again appeared in front of everyone. Everyone looks ruddy, with a smile, seems to be full of confidence in the future. The appearance of Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, is tantamount to a super shock wave, which instantly shocked the entire forces of the entire Orient world. The original stage of the Bones and the Endless Abyss have been launched, and the next stage of the campaign has been suspended. To know that the influence of the glorious Lord on the entire Orient world is too far-reaching, if many people regard Nicholas, the blood-stained Lord, as a joke, but no one dares to look down on Infinity, the Lord of the Sun. If other major forces are still on the sidelines, then the blood-stained Nicholas and his vampires are like ants on the stove, and the rushing group has turned. After the speech in St. Peter's Square, Infinity ordered that the three major institutions of the Episcopal Regiment, the Remnant Knights, and the Inquisition were simultaneously fine-tuned, starting from the Holy City of Vatican and heading straight to the capital of the Kingdom of Italy under the rule of Nicholas. Milan. In the highest temple of the secret blood church newly established in Milan, Nicholas, the blood-stained Lord, faced a pool of unfathomable red blood in front of him, with a look of irritability. In the red blood pool, two different images gradually emerged. One of the deadly and powerful faces, a charming and enchanting noble and glamorous, is the undead King Bades and the painful Queen Mesti. The Church of the Glorious Lord has always been the biggest enemy of our dark parliament for 2,000 years. Now, a church called the Lord of the Sun has stood up on the body of the giant. Pope Benton XVIII was promoted to a demigod. He got the support of almost all the top. Nicholas said coldly, "We must unite at this important moment and destroy the Church of the Lord of the Sun in the first place, otherwise let him harvest the faith and be the first in the future, then everything we get will be lost again, and I am afraid we will never have such a good chance again." Lord of the Sun, Pope Benton XVIII, before him is just a legend, he can never be the first to seal God. Nicholas, relax, although the Holy See has several sanctuaries, but lost the glory of the Lord, the power of the gods, they are no longer a sanctuary. I do not believe that Infinity can provide enough power for these sacred powerhouses. The undead King Bades as the old enemy of the Church of the Glorious Lord, he has been for almost half of his life. In the battle with the Church of the Glorious Lord, there have been 3 defeats but 3 rises. The understanding of the Church of the Glorious Lord is even above the many popes. But after the Lord of Glory has left, the Holy Land of the Holy See has not yet worked out. They have at least one battle, Nicholas said coldly, "I can't be a demigod and 4 sanctuaries opponent." The Lord of the Great Blood, do you have a secret blood church? If you are not eager to spread your faith, I am afraid that this old turtle of Benton XVIII will continue to squat. In fact, your contribution is still very big. The painful Queen, Mesti, smirked with a single hand. "My time is running out. The Holy See army is full of momentum and is heading towards Milan all the way. If you don't shoot again, after a quarter of an hour, I have to evacuate." Nicholas looked firm and said, "The blood family can never be alone the power to counter the Holy See." After the undead King Bades was silent for a moment, he put out a finger. "Once, Nicholas, as a member of the Dark Council, the Parliament will only help you unconditionally this time. After all, the Kingdom of Italy is your sphere of influence. And our enemies are still very strong. One time is enough. As long as I can consume the brilliance of the remains of the Holy See, I have no fear of confronting the so-called Lord of the Sun," Prince Nicholas said proudly. "Infinity, the Lord of the Sun? Ha ha ha, it's just a joke." Nicholas is a senior sanctuary who is a new semi-god, and his understanding of the road to promotion is far more profound than that of ordinary people. The span from legend to demigod is almost a Scorpio, even if there is a grace left by the glorious Lord. Infinity is also unlikely to be easily promoted to the demigod. This can be seen from the fact that he has been huddled in St. Peter's Cathedral for so long. The red blood pool began to sway slowly, a small vortex was formed in it, and then it became bigger and brighter. Suddenly, a dark green crystal flew out of it. "Nicholas, you need to establish a temporary plane channel. The energy of the channel will be paid by you. The endless abyss will have 1 to 3 demons to support. How much depends on the size of your portal. The crystal of the energy is naturally transmitted by the painful Queen Mesti." Nicholas has a sore face, knowing that the space from the endless abyss to the Orient continent is so far away, and the energy required to pass the portal of the Demon King is a huge astronomical figure. Even in the history of Orient, most of the demon summoning rituals are merely summoning low-level demon, dogs, succubus, and other demons. The legendary demons of Barlos are very rare, the demon monarchs. The projection is even rarer. But at this cost he had to pay, although initially he was forced to choose the Kingdom of Itan as a sphere of influence under the pressure of the tyrannical Lord Razga. Judging from the current situation, this decision was not completely wrong. In addition to the Kingdom of Itan, other principalities and city-states of southeast, which were divided by the rest of the dark forces, have already become a human hell, plus Orc West. The levy has become the most horrible and most tragic place. The blood family can never get a large territory with a large population and peace. "I will provide enough energy to summon the arrival of the 3 demon monarchs," Nicholas said with a bite. "I hope that this dark parliament and the decisive battle of the Lord's Church can be a great victory. It is best to kill and injure several enemy sanctuaries, and then completely suppress the infinity of the sun, so that you can sit back and relax. Once the devil leaves the endless abyss, the strength will drop to a certain extent. The 7 demon monarchs can be called the semi-god strong in the endless abyss, but in the world of Orient, only the tyrannical Lord Razga once showed the power of the demigod level. But even so, the 3 demon monarchs are at least 3 genuine sanctuary strong men. Together with the reinforcements of the bones and the blood of the blood, they have surpassed the Church of the Lord of the Sun. How do you see this victory?" "Very big." Prince Nicholas finally gave up the plan to escape, and began to collect the resources needed to open the plane portal, and to face the army of the Lord of the Sun in Milan. At this time, in the camp of the Holy See, Cardinal Raphael, the head of the Knights of the Remnant of the Sun, and the head of the Inquisition, Nietzsche, were listening to the teachings of Infinity, the Lord of the Sun. "My Lord, from the glory of the Father to the whole of Orient, the Holy See is the #1 enemy of all the dark forces of the whole of Orient. Now the darkness is raging. Why do you want to change the original strategy and make a big fan?" Cardinal Pulfil is the old man with the white hair. He is the oldest of all cardinals and a former sanctuary. "I am afraid that I will become the primary target of the Dark Council. Be careful. In fact, this issue has been lingering in the hearts of the high-ranking people of the Holy See, but no one dares to speak out to the Lord of the Sun today. He is not the former Pope Benton XVIII, but the existence of faith. Only Raphael has the qualification to rely on the old and the old to challenge this question. It's not that I insist on doing this, but I have to do it. Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, is no longer in the face of these three former glory of the Holy See. Because he not only surpassed the three in the ranks, but also received their faith and became their master, so he explained, how many brilliant believers in the world of the Orient world. According to the census of the Holy Calendar in December 1786, about 180 million, Raphael, although old, but his mind is not confused, he replied directly. Yes, there are not more than 300 million people in the whole of the Orient continent. The number of believers in the Father is over 60%. This is not too young, too remote, and not allowed to believe in the Father infinity to elaborate, the self-achievement of the Lord of the Son, only to know that this belief is a double-edged sword. God grows up because of faith, and the collapse of faith will also cause God's. The Father is gone, the faith of the entire Orient human being in a short period of 1 or 2 months, many people fell into madness, self-doubt, and even questioned the existence of the Father. If we continue to maintain the original strategy, I am afraid that the situation on the mainland of Brunt will be clear, and I will not receive any more. In addition to the Holy City and the beliefs of Francon, it is necessary to know that the relationship between infinity and the glorious Lord is too deep. All his things are created by the generosity of the glorious Lord. Now it is natural to bear the consequences of the collapse of the glorious Lord's faith. If it is other demigods who want to seal the gods in the future, it is natural to preach and expand the faith after the collapse of the glorious Lord's faith, but the infinity, the Lord of the Sun, is impossible if he does not want to be destined. Then you must rob the basics as much as possible before the glorious Lord's faith has not collapsed, and expand your faith. With the power of the late morning Lord Elysia, it is still impossible to grow the divine power from the believer's faith, and the infinity, the Lord of the semi-God, is naturally impossible, but his hands are in the hands of two brilliant lords. The holy things that come down, the Holy Cross and the revelation of glory. Glory Apocalypse can transform the believer's power of faith into a radiant power, and infinity can use the Holy Cross to transform the radiant power into his own sacred power. Although the power of transforming faith in glorious Apocalypse is far less efficient than the former glorious Lord itself, this effect has gone far beyond all epic and legendary magical things, enough to be true. Artifact, with the help of two real artifacts, infinity, the Lord of the Sun, temporarily gained the authority to be acquired by the real God. Although the conversion efficiency is extremely low, if the 180 million glorious Lord believers can have, no, even if 1/10 is converted to the Lord of the Sun, then infinity will be able to obtain a large number of brilliant masters. Not only can these brilliances make the entire Holy See maintain their combat power, but they can also help themselves to move faster toward the step of igniting the faith of God. Therefore, when the undead King Bads died in the Rhine Union, infinity did not have any action. When the Orc army levied the west, and the ruin crushed one city after another, the infinity was quiet. When the vampire attacked the kingdom of Italy, King Bay, one of the special envoys of Nis 12, came to the holy city of Vatican. Infinity only saw it, but after Prince Nicholas became the blood-stained Nicholas, infinity finally couldn't sit still. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 559. The Lord of the Sun, Infinity. The future Sun God. Pope Benton 18, really did not let me down. When Eulyxia heard the news of the world, it was turned into the golden glow of the sky. The silhouette is exceptionally bright. During this period of time, 11 Way also had a certain understanding of Eulyxia's hobbies. Her favorite time is the moment when the red sun rises and dawns every day. Her essence is the number 2 in the world of Orient. A light, in this moment of darkness and light intertwined, in the midst of meditation, comprehend the true meaning of the light. Even so, however, Ulysses never tried to connect herself to the Sun Church and the sun. Ms Yinyu is the incarnation of the moon, and the moon is also the Lady of Silver Moon, but the sun of the world of Orient, illuminating thousands of planes and the world, is not a small half can touch or hope. After the Holocaust remnant, according to ancient history and epic, Zai Wei can confirm that the arrival of the glorious Lord 2000 years ago makes the sun of the Orient sun brighter and hotter, and the temperature of the whole Orient world has improved tomorrow. The ice sheets that originally covered the vast majority of the continent began to melt slowly, and more species began to appear. Even if the Lord of Glory leaves, it is only to let the sun restore the original light and heat, not really the remnant sun. Pope Benton XVIII actually turned himself into the owner of the sun. What made Benton XVIII make a 180-degree turn and dramatically change the original strategic plan? Zai Wei is somewhat puzzled. If Benton VIII originally planned to do so, then you don't have to carry out the divine retreat. You can use the name of the Lord of the Sun to revive the name of the Lord of the Sun, and the situation will never fall to such a degree of corruption, right? Eulichia, the Holy See is marching toward Milan. Nicholas. Either retreat immediately, or get the support of the Dark Council, decisively fight. Zai Wei's intelligence came from Zero. Zero left Zai Wei during this time and went to the kingdom of Italy for investigation. She has always had great concealment. Even the Lord of Change, the Lord of the Morning, the Dragon of Time, and the top talents of Orient have not noticed her existence, so there is no need to worry about safety. The Dark Parliament is in full swing and will never retreat easily. The golden glow shattered from the sky and reconverged into a human form. I must travel outside Milan to confirm the true state of infinity. All right, I am interested in finding out. Then go along the way. Zai Wei also has this idea: if nothing unexpected, he will see the first high end of light and dark power since the catastrophe, the big confrontation and conflict. This is a very good opportunity to understand the high-level strengths of both sides. So after simply telling the political arrangements for the next period of time, Zai Wei and Eulichia went straight north to the kingdom of Italy, Milan city. Zai Wei's transmission spell directly sent the two to the south side of Milan city 50 kilometers away, which is beyond the scope of the legendary magician. As soon as they landed, Zai Wei and Eulichia looked at Milan city in the north. There was a dark green fog over the west side of the city. The powerful magic energy was gathering together, a super connection to the main plane of Valant and the endless abyss. The portal is forming. It seems that the Dark Council is going to have a decisive battle with the Holy See. Eulichia showed the look of expectation. The Lord of the Sun, let me see what kind of cards you have mastered. On the western side of the city of Milan, a huge green ghost portal with a height of nearly 100 meters is gradually becoming more and more real. Under the constant supply of energy, the green whirlpool is telling the rotation, two planes. The passage between them is getting closer and stronger, and the devils from the endless abyss are cheering and jumping out of the portal. They finally set foot on the land of the Orient continent, inscribed in the blood and soul. Must conquer the world. The portal is still expanding, and the demons that can pass are getting higher and higher, but in fact this is just a temporary portal, which lasts for a maximum of half a day. Despite this, the energy required to build this portal is almost astronomical, and Nicholas, the master of the blood, pays the price of the portal. After walking out of the more than 10 meters high baroque, the sky flies out of the huge demon wing of the wind prisoner. The portal temporarily stopped working, as if gestating something. In the face of these elite demons, even the most tough mortals can't stand still. Their souls will tremble, fall into the deepest fear, and eventually will die. Nicholas, the blood-stained lord of only a dark red robe, stood quietly in front of the portal, waiting for the three demon monarchs, and the allies of the Dark Council came. Soon, the first demon monarch walked out of the portal. The first one to step out of the portal was his man-made 4-foot like a centaur. His body of up to 100 meters exudes a rich abyss of sulfur. He is like a horrible butcher. He is the Slaughter Pazook, the bloodiest demon monarch. Followed by the second, A horrible whole body has a tentacle that is extended like a dark green snake. His lower body is a long snake. His upper body has thousands of snake-like heads. It is a disgusting fear to the extreme, and he is the king of the eyes Lupluxi. If the first two still maintain the basic biological form, then the last one is simply the collection of the most disgusting and filthy substance in the whole world. It has no basic form at all. Just coming out of the portal, it brings horror. The poisonous stench gas, the rotten and moldy breath that people can never forget, is like a nightmare always accompanied by memory. He is the corrosive Iraz. Nicholas frowned, and the three who appeared in front of him were the real demon monarchs, but the three he didn't want to see. Especially the rotten Iraz, wherever it went, polluted everything, even though he had arranged several true ancestors to advance the protection circle in Milan, but it was only the rotten Iraz who stopped here. It is enough to become a restricted area of life where mortals simply do not dare to set foot. Prince Nicholas, thank you for your generosity. Let me have the opportunity to set foot on the mainland of Orient. This is the first time in my life. Lupluxi, the king of the eye, narrowed his body, and he also changed into a dark green hair man. Although the king of the eye is very mysterious, Nicholas also knows about him. This is a real sinister and extremely sinister creature. He personally killed all his own families and extinct the once dominated by a large plain. The Salen snakes smelt the bodies and strengths of their compatriots into their own bodies and aggregate into a horrible super monster. This terrible guy almost swallowed up all the creatures in the entire plain. On the verge of collapse, he was introduced into the infinite abyss by the smart Fal Raz. After 500 years, he became the king of the eyes. The Slaughter Pazuk and the corrosive Iraz are also dangerous figures in the demon monarch, but from the power level alone, they are not even the only women in the demon monarch, Queen of Pain Mesti. There are two strongest people in the demon Maharaja, that is, the tyrannical master Razgator and the wise man Fal Raz. The two are symbols of strength and wisdom. They have guided the development of the infinite abyss for thousands of years. The demon army has also expanded to the point where it can compete with the entire main material plane. The endless abyss is not the native plane of the Orient world, but the aggregation of dozens or even hundreds of medium-sized, large, and even giant planes. Most of these planes have been destroyed and worn out, and eventually they are like garbage. Precipitation in the multi-plane, forming a super-large plane in the bottom of the endless abyss. Therefore, the terrain of the endless abyss is very complicated, and the climate is even worse. The demons that grow up here are really horrible monsters, and the blood-stained Nicholas is very disliked. However, he could only hold his nose and talk to the king of the eyes Lupluxi, waiting for the arrival of the Holy See army not far away. The 100-meter-tall demon portal is obviously invisible. At very long distances, the three sacred strongs of infinity and the Holy See have sensed its existence. Nicholas opened the demon portal, summoning the presence of the demon monarch level to the world of Orient. Cardinal Raphael said with a dignified look. Reassure, this is just a temporary portal, and the permanent portal that connects the main plane and the endless abyss is not so easy to build. Infinity, the owner of the sun, confidently said, today's world war is only for Europe. The humanity that lent is still sinking in the dark declares that the light still exists, and we will never fail. The Slayer, the Corruptor, and the King of the Eyes, the three demon monarchs, is really a big deal. Ulixia easily recognized the identity of the three demon monarchs. After all, they did not make the slightest cover. At the same time, the army of the Holy See is also constantly approaching, and Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, has not converged his power. The Lord of the Sun and the Lord of the Blood, two new demigods, three Holy See's sanctuary strongmen and three demon monarchs, 8 sacred class powerhouses, this is the entire history of the Orient world. For the first time, the big battles between the Elven Empire and the Orc Empire were not as high as they are today. Ulysses said with some suspiciousness, what kind of cards does Infinity have so much that he dares to come out? It's not just that we are watching, there are representatives of other forces. Ziwei used the idea to communicate with Yulichia. The most stealing Zero has found acquaintances distributed in several hidden places. Oh! Who, in the case that everyone converges on all of their power, even Olympia can hardly perceive the existence of others strong. Well, Lord Dala is in the north, the Dragon of the Shadow is underground, and there are several vague touches that can't confirm identity. Dixila and the Shadow Dragon Rust had met with Ziwei. Their information was recorded by Zero and was therefore detected. My mood is very contradictory. I hope that Infinity can counter this dark power and save a little hope for the light. I hope he will be defeated and fall early. Eulizia suddenly turned to look at Ziwei. Is it very dark? Don't coexist with solar energy. Ziwei did not answer her, but instead raised a question. No, even if you can, you must have a master and a pair. Ulixia indulged for a long time and finally answered the question. I intended to invite Eulithia to come to the kingdom of Eden. The vampire is a weaker part of the Dark Council. But I didn't expect the infinity of the sun, a surprise to everyone. Now the kingdom of Italy has become the focus of the entire Orient world is difficult, Ziwei sighed. Originally, it was a move to invite Urihaya, the Lord of the Morning Diver, to open a base, but did not expect that the plan could not keep up with the changes. Fortunately, the younger lady of the morning, Ulixia, had not really joined the battle, and could not be called a tiger. The Holy Norman Emperor Alfred IX was angered by the Dark Hand of the Dark Council has sent an elite army expedition to the Dark Area, and the power of the French kingdom is not to be underestimated, so whether it is the endless abyss or the bones of the bones, the war in the next cannot be easily crushed, has entered the stage of attacking the hardship. If the Dark Council really concentrated most of the power in Italy, against the Church of the Lord of the Sun, then the offensive and defensive I am afraid that it will be reversed. Ulizia analyzed, if I am the undead King Bads, I will never choose the Holy City Vatican and the Franconian Plain as the first goal. Oh, Westway nodded. The important thing is to make a sound. I think this is the idea of infinity. But what is it for? There is only a little name, unless. 11 Way and Ulixia looked at each other. Unless infinity, the Lord of the Sun, can gain the power from the faith of the believer, does he have to do it as he does now? Impossible, only the true God can get the power from the faith. Ulixia quickly shook her head. Don't forget the Lord of Glory. If it weren't for his gift, infinity would never be a half-god, Westway reminded. No, he once said to me, expecting me to be the bright goddess of the world of Orient. Ulizia suddenly broke a big secret. 11 Way took a deep breath and didn't expect that Ulizia would choose to tell herself such secret information, but now it can't be cold. When? The catastrophe of the catastrophe, the moment the glory of the Lord left, Ulizia asked a little bit angry and said, the Lord of the Sun is. Ulizia, calm, look forward to the next light and dark showdown, I think I will find the answer soon. 11 Way gently pulled the girl's hand around her, indicating that she was quiet. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 560. If you want to compare the half-god of the world of Orient, the young man of the morning, Orishia, is undoubtedly one of the most noble, oldest, and brightest future. Her time to achieve the demigod was before the glory of the Lord of the Orient world, so in the eyes of Ulizia, the Lord of the Blood Nicholas and Lord of the Sun Infinity is undoubtedly a latecomer, just entered. They are still so far away from the throne, and they must never seal themselves before themselves. Even if there are competitors in the competition, it is also the violent master Razgada, the undead King Bades, the spider, the strongest who have the name of Hehue. However, a terrible guess made the loss of the Sun Infinity achieve a corner overtaking. If he was promoted to the demigod, he would gain the power from his faith, then he would undoubtedly jump over the semi-god stage, directly achievement of the so-called sun god. However, there was no time left for Eulichia to be shocked. Soon the army of the Holy See stopped not far away, and the demon army that had just stepped out of the portal was far away. Nicholas in a dark red robe flew high above the sky with a sneer smile. Infinity, why not continue to huddle in your cathedral and continue to mourn the Holy Father you have left? Shut up, Nicholas, you're vampire, a parasite-like monster. You shouldn't claim to be the mister of the blood, and you shouldn't force the believers of our believers to turn to you, Cardinal of the Red. Cardinal Raphael scolded. My lord? Ha ha ha, is your lord the glory of the invisible sight that has already run, or is it the former pope who once couldn't make the Vatican, now the lord of the sun? Nicholas, the laughter resounded through the heavens and the earth. Enough, self-proclaimed glory of justice, your time is over. Today is the moment when the light is completely extinguished, and the dark age is coming. Our Lord is of course the great Lord of the Sun Infinity. Although the Lord of the Father has left the Orient, he has promised to continue to protect the world by my Lord. My Lord is the heir to the will. The inheritor of the future is the son of the future of the world of Orient. Raphael's generous speech. The sun god. Ha ha ha, I am really joking. Infinity, why don't you go to heaven, blend into the sun, and then completely burn me down? Nicholas seemed to hear the best laughter in the world, laughing forward and backward. It is the Lord of the secret blood, who is in charge of the blood mystery. Anyone who believes in me can be blessed. If you have great perseverance and great wisdom, you can enjoy the eternal life. The formal and naked dispute between the two sides is therefore spreading their doctrines and denying each other. Although neither the owner of the sun, Infinity, nor the blood-stained Nicholas, wants to completely tear the other party into pieces, the soul is completely annihilated, and the other church is made into a dust of history. But this moment has maintained a wonderful order. You come and go, promoting each other's blows is like conducting a debate. Either Infinity or Nicholas did not completely eliminate the other side's thoughts. After watching it for a long time, Zai finally confirmed, these two are all for spreading faith. In fact, for the demigods who cannot harvest their power from the faith, the establishment of the church and the spread of faith are necessary conditions for the closure of God, but they are not in the most important sequence, because it is expensive, but it is very expensive. It can't be harvested very quickly. This is why Ulysses has waited until the end of the original contract to set up the Morning Sect, and the undead King Bades, the tyrannical Lord Razgada and so on have not established their own church. The reason why Nicholas, the Lord of the Blood, is so keen to spread the faith is that as long as the human beings who deliver the faith will become the blood slaves of the vampires, and will voluntarily provide blood energy, how many times higher than the previous forced efficiency. The price that Nicholas needs to pay is simply to convert a few of them into vampires, which is consistent with his policy of growing the vampire community, so anyone who can do so can guess. But why does Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, want to rush to spread the faith, instead of continuing to implement the original plan? Although the debate between Nicholas and Raphael continued, the demon monarch behind him couldn't help it. The favorite of the slaughter Pazuch was the pleasure of slaughtering the enemy. This time he was summoned. Come, he looked at the neatly illuminating Vatican army in front of him, and the scarlet bloodthirsty light flashed in his eyes, and he immediately launched a raid and began to shock on the ground. The whole earth began to tremble fiercely, and the huge spears in the hands of the killer Pazuch had been thrown out, aiming at the carriage of the owner of the sun, Infinity. The catastrophe of the catastrophe, the glory of the gloom, the devil's madness, the undead raging, the glory and order of the Orient. From now on, I will be guarded. Infinity directly appeared in the sky above the Holy See, the Holy Cross in his chest and the hands. Glory Apocalypse shines like a small sun, with a burning and warm sun shining beneath it. Infinity's left hand gently waved, and a glorious wall appeared before the Holy See army. The brilliance of the scorpion formed a high wall that could not be broken, and intercepted the demon spear thrown by the slaughter Pazuch in midair. If Infinity does not shoot and let the demon spear land, then the majority of the cavaliers will fall apart under this attack. Did not get the result, the killer Pazuch sent an unhappy sullen. He recalled his demon spear. High up to the sky, the green magic flame began to burn fiercely. The original clear sky appeared instantly a black spot. The next moment, the horrible magical power of hellfire descended from the sky, aimed at the fall of the Holy See. At this moment, the head of the remnant knights, the sanctuary of the sanctuary, Maldini, flew out on a holy white horse, and the shining glory of the sword in his hand sparkled, and the brilliance of the ultimate radiance was condensed in it. Glowing has formed a huge white wing behind him. It is a super explosive skill, the sacred magic of the 9 rings, sacred wings. Maldini shouted loudly above the sky, and the radiant power was running under his will. The whole body was filled with the active radiant energy of the explosion. His body began to change to the sanctification of half energy. This is the glory of the 9 rings. Divine technology, holy angel. Under the blessing of the 2 9-ring brilliance, Maldini is like a sacred archangel from the high heavens. The sword of glory and glory in his hand is the ultimate white light, and directly to the slaughter Pazuch. Devil's spear in the hand. The wind sorcerer in the sky whispers and wants to block this reckless human. However, several legendary martial martyrs have just been close to Maldini, and they are burned by the horror of his full body. The large semi-forms dissolve and dissipate in this glory, and each one sends out a sorrowful mourning. The fell energy storm guided by Pazuch has caused the sky to smash one after another green hellfire that is burning with magic fire. These horrible monsters are trying to break into the camp of the Holy See and use their magic fire to roast all the enemies. Boom! The next moment, the brilliance of horror and the power of magical power collided in the sky. The earth trembled fiercely, the sky was abruptly dark. Maldini made a roar of resounding in the heavens and the earth, and the killer Pazuch made a sigh. The glorious glory sword in the hands of the knight of the remnant knight, Maldini, directly smashed the devil's spear in the hands of the slayer's Pazuch into countless pieces, and the super sinister storm guided by Pazuch was forced to be interrupted. The Holy See army has issued a huge cheer. In the face of the horrible demon army of the enemy, even the brave and determined warriors will be fearful, but the head of Maldini proves with his bravery that it is brilliant. Victory. Blood stained the earth. Nicholas, the master of the blood, unfolded his own field. The dark red blood began to infect the whole land, trying to cover the entire battlefield. The enemies in the battlefield will gradually lose control of their own blood and completely become the plaything of Nicholas. The afterglow of the sun. Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, sensed the call of the believers. The entire army of the Holy See was calling their Lord, their own asylum, so he did not hesitate to transform the radiant power of the Holy Cross into his own sacred power. In an instant, the entire Holy See army was like a sunset over the evening. The golden glory fell on their armor, turning them into a knight of the gods of the golden armor. Under the cover of the afterglow of the sun, the believers of the Lord of the Sun will be sheltered by Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, completely free from any evil, and become more heroic and decisive without any fear or hesitation. Obtain the blessing of the afterglow of the sun. This remnant of the Knights of the Sun has the ability to compete with the front and the demon army. Soon, the light and dark frontal collisions are staged. The judges of the gods, the Knights of the Sun and the judges of the Inquisition, and a variety of abyss demon began a desperate fight. At the same time, the peak confrontation between the strong people of the sanctuary began to unfold. The head of the remnant knight, Maldini, and the murderer Pazuch, was hot, the Cardinal Raphael and the king of the Eye, Lupuxi. At the beginning, Nietzsche, the head of the Inquisition, confronted the corrupter Iraz. If in the endless abyss, the 3 great characters of the Lord's Church are not the opponents of the 3 demon monarchs. However, in the Orient Plain, the strength of the 3 demon monarchs has been greatly suppressed, and the glorious power of the Holy See's sanctuary seems to be continuous. They do not care about consumption, and they are not able to quickly divide. Winning the game. Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, was in a confrontation with Nicholas, the Blood Lord of Blood. Although Infinity has been on the defensive, but it has not leaked. Under his protection, even no religious soldiers have died. Nicholas, the Master of the Blood, is determined by the devil, and it is the devil of the infinite abyss to consume the brilliance of the high level of the Holy See. No matter the victory or defeat, the Holy See will never have the luxury lineup of the half-sanctuary today. I can sit back and relax, and my own secret blood church can continue to grow and develop. This battle can be said to be a faint day, and for the first time in history, in the Orient world, the Glory and the Devil's Peak showdown, within 100 kilometers, in addition to being surrounded by 9 vampires. The city, all the surrounding areas were destroyed by the battle, and it became a smash. They really don't despise their brilliance. How do I feel that I have returned to the era when the Son of God came to Elent, West, and Ulysia had already retreated for dozens of kilometers in order to avoid being attacked by the battle. He rubbed his chin, curiously watching. The sky is still brave, the radiant power seems to be a steady stream of several holy see. It is necessary to know that the gradual decline of the brilliance of the gods has even started from 300 years ago. After the 30 Years' War, the prestige of the Holy See has plummeted. Even if it is the great figure of the Holy See, it is a matter of arrogance to display high-level magic. This scene is really, people can't believe it. Euresia looks cold, and as a semi-god, she can naturally sense the changes that have taken place in Infinity. The scene in front of me will undoubtedly make the bold guess of Zyway more realistic. If there is no really efficient supplement, then Raphael, Maldini, and Nietzsche will never use the brilliance of brilliance. It is impossible for Ulysia to let the Anthus Pope, the Maudlane Knight, and others squander their power, otherwise their strength will drop sharply after this war, let alone 3 sanctuary strongmen. If you are not lucky enough to meet Zyway, if it is not Zyway that helps you to analyze and construct the Holy Light rune system, then the development of the Morning Church will be far behind the Church of the Dead, and you will also be infunded by Infinity. The latecomers came to the top and snatched the only representative of the light. Eurykia has a heavy face. Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, is not only the enemy of the Dark Council, but also the enemy of his future road. Zyway, the current system of the Rune of the Light, is not enough to carry the growth of the Church of the Morning. It is time to make further improvements and innovations. Ulyxia took the hands of 11 Way, and more force. Although Ulyxia once opened the light source that she mastered to Zyway and analyzed and explored by Zyway, the Shengguang rune system is only a perfect and more advanced master between the ring and the 5th ring. The runes of the Order and even the Legendary Order are still in a blank state. This is not Zyway's private possession, but his understanding of the origin of light is still far from enough. Just as Zyway has not yet classified the inscriptions of the elements into the 4 legendary inscriptions represented by the 4 basic elements. Although this means that more secrets of his own, and even the secrets of the source of light, will be understood by Zyway, but Ulysia has no choice. In the battle for the light of God, she has fallen behind the Lord of the Sun. Infinity. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 561. The legendary battles will have a huge impact on the environment around the battlefield, and the peak of the light and shadow outside Milan is far beyond the legendary battle. Especially in the semi-divine field of the 2 Lords of the Sun and the Lord of the Blood, the powerful sacred power and blood power can be filled between the sky and the earth, and the space of the original material is slowly affected by energy and becomes distorted, blurring, like a fascinating illusion. If this battle does not happen in the mainland of the Orient, the main material world of the multidimensional plane, the battle of the demigod intensity has long caused the space to be broken, the plane collapsed. Even if it is a large plane, once this happens, it is a huge natural disaster. But despite this, as the battle continued, the originally stable space was like a glass that was baked in an ultra-high temperature and was on the verge of breaking. In such a space that is on the verge of tearing and breaking, let alone ordinary people, Even high-level professionals must quickly flee and simply cannot maintain effective combat effectiveness. The strongest part of the two demigods is to forcibly turn the battlefield into their own home. Under the afterglow of the sun, the elite of the Holy See simply ignores the space that is on the verge of breaking, and ignores it. It is enough to make ordinary people go crazy. The abyss of the collapsed demon, they are constantly showing powerful brilliance, because the Lord they believe in is fighting with them, and their power supply has no warning. Corrosioner Iraz is not a strong player who is good at single combat. He is not aggressive in this respect, but he is the most desperate and headache enemy in combat against the army. Iraz has summoned a large amount of corrosive mud, one by one rolling forward and moving forward. The earth is quickly eroded into a dark green color, and the extremely corrosive terrorist microbes are rapidly growing, corroding all life and matter around, and turn them all into their own food. As the current master of this battlefield, Nicholas, the blood-stained lord, has a heartache, but he can't blame anything. After this war, I am afraid that this place will become a vast area, and even affect Milan city. If it is not the existence of infinity, the owner of the sun, the decaying aura around the corrosive Iraz will pollute all the air around, causing the enemy to suffocate, burn, and suffer. The enemies under the legend cannot resist the effects of the corona. However, under the gloom of the dying sun, the believers of the Lord of the Sun completely exempted this kind of injury, which means that the field of infinity, the Lord of the Sun, completely suppressed the corrosive Iraz. This is exactly what happens when the battle is unique to the sanctuary. In general, the areas of both sides of the battle will take effect, but only one side is weak and each part takes advantage of the part of the home. However, the corrosive aura of the corrosive Iraz who left the endless abyss could not penetrate into the afterglow of the sun. The dark yellow Jinhui resisted all of this. He held the glory revelation and the holy cross on his neck. Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, looks so sacred, and he has brought the entire Holy See army to an unprecedented peak with his own power. In the past 300 years, the brilliance has become more and more difficult to obtain, so the strength of the Church of the Glorious Lord has weakened, but today, everything has changed. The Holy See is not afraid of it. They are overjoyed and once again feel the full power. The power that is almost endless and endless. Praise the Lord, the eternal Yang is forever, under the same charge of several legendary paladins. The sorcerer's squadron of the singularly high-spirited squadron smashed into the abyss, led by several Beloyan, and rushed to the great demon. Near the portal, the fire of the sacred glory, burn everything. A high-ranking priest who was firmly sheltered by the members of the remnant knights with a sacred light, full of a sense of mission, shouted, the owner of the dark golden sun, the divine power quickly burned on him, and the flame of the sacred glory quickly soared. Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, lifted the glory of revelation in his hand, and pointed his right hand at the high-ranking priest. The sun is like blood, and it is invincible. Pure to the extreme, the magnificent and shocking devastating power of the sun hit the priest in a moment. His flesh and blood disappeared instantly, and the whole person became a sunset that seemed to descend to the ground. He used the last will and the soul, decisively leaping, directly rushed into the portal of the connected main plane and the endless abyss of up to 100 meters. The great brilliance fills everyone's field of vision, and there is no other color in the field of vision than the endless spark of the sun. The next moment, the shock of terror shocked out instantly. Even under the full protection of the 9 vampires, the walls of Milan city finally could not stand, began to twist and transform, and eventually collapsed. The city of Milan, which was affected by the aftermath, was still like this. When the radiance dissipated, the towering demon portal crashed and the magical energy poured into it began to disintegrate. The one-shot effect, the demon portal was destroyed. To know that this super sports portal that connects to the demon lord and connects the endless abyss and the Orient continent is a precious strategic treasure for the demon monarch, such a portal, no legend can hurt it. Minutes, who can think of a small high-ranking priest, can actually burn himself completely, and directly blow up the entire demon portal under the perfusion of the sacred power. Although the savage attack of the Slayer, Pazuuk, directly crushed the elite of more than a dozen remnant knights into dust, it is obvious that the battle has changed dramatically. Without the magical support from the Endless Abyss, the demon army's combat power quickly decayed, and it was defeated in the face of the Holy Sea's army, which was fully blessed by the remnant of the sun. It was swept away like autumn leaves. Seeing the opposite Lord of the Sun has a near-infinite endless power that does not match his current identity. The demon army has been struggling, and there is no hope of victory. The three demon monarchs looked at each other and the situation was unfavorable. It was time to retreat. The magic energy in them cannot be supplemented by the Endless Abyss, but it is a very dangerous situation. Once it falls in the main material plane, it will take a very long time to reunite the body again. Even so, there will be a very long weakness. Time. The surviving demon army gradually moved closer to a center, and the king of the eye, Lupluxi, instantly changed into a huge horrible dark green snake, which involved all the demons, and then broke into the position where the demon portal was once. The plane of the plane was temporarily opened, and the former devourer Lupluxi directly protected all the demons, and ran back to the Endless Abyss. The situation on the entire battlefield has changed dramatically. No one has ever thought of the demon army that seems to be invincible. Has it actually ran away? The head of the blood, Nicholas, has changed greatly. The opposite of the Lord of the Sun, Infinity, is not like a new demigod. It is just as powerful as a real god. The fear that was once suppressed by the glorious Lord's Church once again dominated him. There was only one thought in Nicholas's mind, that is to hurry and retreat, the farther the better. The noble blood family must not be so degraded. However, at this moment, a cold and hoarse voice was introduced into his mind. The Lord of the Blood, please temporarily withdraw, the new line of defense has been established. Nicholas turned his head and found that there was a wall of grey energy in front of Milan. This is a negative energy spell. It was originally a reinforcement from the bones. Nicholas was slightly determined. He converges on the blood-stained earth and returns directly to the back of this negative energy wall. A lich wearing a purple-red robes is casting a spell to build a barrier that blocks the Holy See. Thank you for your support. Nicholas is still handsome on the surface, and there seems to be no desire to escape. Zastan, the first legendary lich in the whole world of Orient, he was already a legendary strongman 500 years ago, and he is a super powerful caster. Zastan leads a whole group of necromancers, and he is building a super 9-ring death spell, the Wall of Soul Size. The large magical array of souls and negative energy is known for its ultra-stable structure, which is the super defense spell that the undead King Bades and his liches study together against the Church of the Glorious Lord. Although the Church of the Glorious Lord has changed its face to become the Lord's Church of the Sun, the Wall of Soul Size has not lost its use of power. The grey negative energy and the interest of the soul have become solid under the influence of the large magical array. Destroy. The demon army has fled back to the Endless Abyss, and now only the last block in front of Milan city is the wall of size that the lich casts. If Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, can continue to break through this blockade, then he almost defeated the three main forces of the Dark Council, the Abyss Devil, the Undead Spirit, and the Vampires. This brilliant achievement will surely shock the whole Europe. Lent mainland. Urihiah, the Lord of the Morning, frowned, and the real power of Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, far exceeded the ordinary demigod. The power loss of the whole battle was so great, even if Ulixia could provide it, it won't waste your power, unless Infinity has the means to quickly replenish your power. However, she is also fortunate in her heart. If it is not this time to visit the battlefield and observe the divine power of the Lord of the Sun, she is very likely to suffer big losses in the future road of Changshen. The ability of the Lord of the Sun to show up in this battle far exceeds his ability as a new demigod, not only shocking the dark parliamentary camp, but also shocking all secret observers. In the face of the sigh of the dark souls gathered, Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, sighed. Just fighting in the abyss of the Lord of the Blood and the three demon monarchs, the power of his power is as fast as the rushing rivers, especially the moment when the last power is given to break the devil's portal, the consumption is even more terror. Now, although he can't call the thief to go to the sky, then the radiant power that can be used in the Holy Cross is still running out. In this case, although he can break through the city of Milan in front of him, he did not expect that he would not die. Join this battle. After the continuous use of three remnants of the sun, still cannot shake the wall of the soul sigh in front of the loose, with the unsuccessful regret, the Lord of the Sun, the Infinity, ordered the Holy See to retreat and return to the Holy City of Vatican. Looking at the Holy See army to regroup, one by one, leaving the battlefield with high morale, no one can stop them, nor dare to block this army that has just won a brilliant victory. P.S. Today's update is not too late, it is a few hundred words, so I will replace it when I finish writing. Even if Eulizia can provide it, she will never waste her power, unless Infinity has the means to quickly replenish her power. However, she is also fortunate in her heart. If it is not this time to visit the battlefield and observe the divine power of the Lord of the Sun, she is very likely to suffer big losses in the future road of Changshen. The ability of the Lord of the Sun to show up in this battle far exceeds his ability as a new demigod, not only shocking the dark parliamentary camp, but also shocking all secret observers. In the face of the sigh of the dark souls gathered, Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, sighed. Just fighting in the abyss of the Lord of the Blood and the three demon monarchs, the power of his power is as fast as the rushing rivers, especially the moment when the last power is given to break the devil's portal, the consumption is even more terror. Now, although he can't call the thief to go to the sky, then the radiant power that can be used in the Holy Cross is still running out. In this case, although he can break through the city of Milan in front of him, he did not expect that he would not die. Join this battle after using three remnant sacred themes in succession, still can't shake the wall of the soul sigh in front of the loose, with the unsuccessful regret, the Infinity of the remnant sun ordered the Holy See to choose retreat and return to the Holy City of Vatican. Looking at the Holy See army to regroup, one by one, leaving the battlefield with high morale, no one can stop them, nor dare to block this army that has just won a brilliant victory. The moment God's power is given to break the devil's portal, the consumption is even more terrifying. Now, although he can't call the thief to go to the sky, then the radiant power that can be used in the Holy Cross is still running out. In this case, although he can break through the city of Milan in front of him, he did not expect that he would not die. Join this battle. After the continuous use of three remnants of the sun, still cannot shake the wall of the soul sigh in front of the loose, with the unsuccessful regret, the Lord of the Sun, the Infinity, ordered the Holy See to retreat and return to the Holy City of Vatican. Looking at the Holy See army to regroup, one by one, leaving the battlefield with high morale, no one can stop them, nor dare to block this army that has just won a brilliant victory. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 563. Infinity, the owner of the sun, used a brilliant victory outside Milan city to show his power and bring a new hope to countless people who are desperate. Although I couldn't directly solve the wickedness of the Lord Nicholas and the guy who fought for his faith, the first and most crucial goal has been achieved, that is, to show his power to the entire world of Orient. Let many believers who were disappointed with the glory of the Lord turn to believe in themselves. How do you think of the magician, the elements, and the magic? After returning from outside Milan, Yuklai raised a very subtle question for Ziwei. There will be subtle differences in each person. In my case, elements and magic are tools that help me to understand the real and inner laws of the whole world. It is the cornerstone of my chosen path of growth, and also me. It's a friend who spends a lifetime with you. For the magician, there are no more close partners than elements, magic and spells. Many magicians are alone, no wife, has no children, and they choose to be with the spell for life. So, for the source of strength, What attitude do you have is just to explore and discover. Do you have such awe, or piety to such a mighty power? Eulizia understood the idea of Ziwei, but it was a bit impossible. Accepted, she asked excitedly. Of course, I am eager for knowledge. I have the most basic and noble respect for the laws of mystery and the unknown, because the laws of the entire universe are constructed and written by the power of the source. The deeper the understanding of the source of power, the closer it is. I am even more aware of my own insignificance. Savitan paused, but I am sorry, Eulichia, in my dictionary, there is no word of piety. I fear the origins and laws of this universe, but I will not deliver faith to any supreme. Knowledge is my strength, but also my belief for the arcane master. Even the true is just the forerunner on the road to exploring the truth. Ulysses was silent. She felt the shock from the firm and decisive words of Ziwei, a trembling from the depths of the soul. She always used this as a truth for the gods and faith. To imitate, she is just a traveler on a given road, a follower of the old rules, but never to Ziwei, and resolutely walked out a new path to break all the old shackles and rules. Out of nothing. On the old road of gods, she is no longer leading. Whether it is the undead King Bades, the tyrannical Lord Razgator or the spider, Rose, etc., they are growing faster than the morning church. After all, Eulichia is not the ruler of the French kingdom. The real master is Austria. Long down. Now, Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, also appeared in front of the world as the heir to the glory of the Lord, and demonstrated his power through the Battle of Milan, snatched the scene of the Savior, and also the future path of Eulichia. Completely blocked. If we continue to follow the old beliefs and seal the road of God, then unless the Lord of the Sun, Infinity, falls in the battle of future beliefs, the future church of Eulichia will be restrained everywhere, and the spread of faith and strength will be significantly delayed. In this way, the Lord of the Sun will be rushing before himself. It will be an imaginary horror day. The future will be dark and the future will be completely cut off, because the gap between the gods and the demigods can be said to be a world apart. Dawn sex can develop to the present level in just 3 months, and maintain a prosperous situation. It is inseparable from the sacred rune system that Ziwei has built. Ziwei, I seem to have only this kind. Ways to break free from shackles and achieve a bright future. Eulichia was worried, and she lost a lot of confidence in the future. For the gods, the highest level of power in the world, Ziwei can't be curious at all. The blue big played by Zero is a bold attempt. After knowing and gradually deepening communication with the music master Sophie and the Lord of the Morning, Eulizia, he also has the power of faith and strength. Unique cognition. The is like a central processor that can process and feed back the message of self-confidence, pray. The processor can also transform the believer's beliefs into power, and give it to believers. The so-called power of faith, similar to power generation with love, seems completely nonsense, but it is an indispensable step to achieve the gods. Without the belief of all people, it is impossible to break through the last step from the demigod to the true God. But apart from Infinity, the magical Lord of the Sun, no one in the consciousness and intelligence of Eurychia can transform the power of faith into his own power, so many believers are equivalent. Unfounded water is a cumbersome sense, not just wealth. The Holy Light rune system naturally has certain limitations. Bright energy is not as easy to perceive and define as elements. It is too long to grow through learning. After Ziwei seriously thought, he explained his own understanding and ideas. The relationship with Eurychia has gone deep from the original strangers, new friends, old friends, allies to close comrades. This time, Eulizia is eager to go south, which is intended to open up the kingdom of Italy as a new parish. As a result, only the Violets occupied Sicily, and the parish that Eulichia had scheduled was all squandered. Even in this case, Eulizia did not complain at all, and did not even say Sicily is half me. Therefore, Ziwei is very grateful, and he feels empathy with Eulysia's concerns and troubles. I also want to help her a lot. Eulysia, let your believers deliver your faith to you, and pray to you. How do you feel? The problem of Zai has begun to shift to the deepest and most core mysteries of God, not to these deep problems. To understand, he also has no solution to the problem. Ulysses turned and looked at Zai with a pair of big golden eyes. She gently pulled Zai's right hand and placed the hand on her chest, covering the heart. 11 Wei closed his eyes and listened to his feelings with his heart. Ulysses completely opened his heart to him. He could feel any thoughts and core beliefs at this moment. Eulysia, in the kingdom of Italy, don't be tempted to use anything. There are many things to discuss with the West Way Master. Although he is young but mature, he is a very difficult person to lose. Mograine is a militant Wufu in his bones, and he is careful to arrange him to play. Principal Benton 18 is a very urban man. His speculations are as high as possible. My fears about him are still above the vampires. The first sequence of believers is undoubtedly the Pope of Anthony. His line of faith is the thickest and deepest. Every prayer he receives will be accepted by Ulysses for the first time, even if it is far away. What makes Zai feel interesting is that the Angzai's Pope is a very old man. His prayers are very frequent, but there are many warm daily routines, whether it is mentioning or caring, completely sincere. It can be seen from these words that Angzai seems to regard the early morning Lord Ulysses as a general care of her daughter, rather than the relationship between the ordinary believer and the Lord. The core of Oiric's beliefs connects to thousands of tens of thousands of lines, and these lines of faith connect everyone who delivers her faith to the true morning martyrs. Even if it is a demigod or a god, it is impossible to listen to the prayers of every believer or pray for prayer. Therefore, all the morning believers are divided into 5 sequences by Ulysses. The first sequence, Pope Ansis. The second sequence, Godia, Modelny and several other cardinals. The third sequence, the bishops above the master level, the morning knights, and the very promising stars of tomorrow. The fourth sequence, the high-ranking priest and the morning knight, the dean of each monastery. Fifth sequence, ordinary pastor. Ulysses is not a true god. Now she can't listen to the prayers of every believer. Even the fifth priest, she has a lot of time to pay attention. Despite this, it is also a very horrible and complicated thing to have hundreds of thousands of people talking to you every day, praying for your response. Zai has only felt a moment, and has already become bloated and covered. Uncomfortable. At this moment, Ulysses loosened the hands of 11 Wei and disconnected his connection to the core of the faith. 11 Wei sighed, "This is really difficult to do." Ulysses also showed a distressed look. The young morning believers have just developed over 10,000. I have been very difficult to deal with. I really don't know how the former glorious Lord handled his hundreds of millions of believers. Perhaps the glory of the Lord is leaving from Orient is this reason. He is already overwhelmed. Zai opened a little joke. The atmosphere of the original tense and gentleness eased a lot. Haha, what you said is very reasonable. Ulysses, with her hands behind her back, kicked a small stone with a kick, and the whole person was much lighter. Eulysia, you can communicate with the bright source, isn't it? Looking at the flying stone, Zai thought about it and suddenly thought of his experience in the Tower of Time. Yes, I only know a small part of the source of light, but I can connect with it anytime, anywhere. Eulysia nodded. For you, for all demigods, believers' beliefs are a painful asset, but they cannot be abandoned. Why can't they help them directly believe in the source of light, and you are responsible for matchmaking? Zai made a bold proposal. Directly believe in the source of light? But the source of light is not a god. It is impossible to deal with and respond to the request of believers. Ulysses responded in a strange way. All the morning dawn believers are connected by the road to the source of light. They are faithful to the source of light, and the Lord of the morning is the source of light, regardless of each other. Zai pointed out the key to the problem. so it can reduce the amount of faith that you need to bear, but it can help believers gain light power. The relationship between classical believers and gods is similar to a group of people hiring a sophisticated hunter, who gives him money, the power of faith, and then the hunter turns his money into weapons, equipment, and physical strength, and then hunt himself, taking return the meat to the guests who pay for it. The relationship between the gods and believers in the Zyway brain hole is that the experienced hunter can't help too many customers to hunt. He chooses to open a hunting ground, train the guests to hunt skills, give them weapons and equipment, and they go hunting. And get rewarded by yourself. In the relationship between the classical gods and the believers, the gods are obviously the role of all responsibility and rights. The believers are only the lambs. The faith is delivered to the Lord. It is okay to pray for prayer. The Lord will give divine power and decide the achievements of the believers. However, in the relationship between the second and the believer, although God controls the entire hunting ground, he no longer bears the responsibility of hunting. At the same time, the believers no longer rely solely on the appreciation of the gods to gain divine power. But with their own efforts. Both modes have their pros and cons. The first kind of can control everything, and the burden of the second kind of will be much less. For the current morning sun, Elysia, if she wants to be one step ahead in the future competition, then there is no choice. Elysia took a deep breath. I can do this. I need to explain to the believers that I am the source of light, and that the source of light is me. They believe in the source of light and believe in the Lord of the morning. They are no longer rely on my divine power, but grow on my own. Zyway smiled and said, don't worry too much, Elysia, you can take the master's meditation and this analogy to see, and you still have all the magic, they can't get close to and get the light of the source. Open you are still an irreplaceable role. Isn't the power of Guangming's origins inappropriate? The source is the core of the whole and the highest level of the whole of Orient. If I choose to disclose this information, I will offend many people. Elysia did not fiercely oppose. Then it is called the light of the light, the road belonging to the future of the Lord of the day, who is on the road of the morning Sunday. As long as the morning dawn believers can embark on this road, the future achievements will no longer rely solely on the gift of the gods. Personal efforts will also very important. Zyway made a suggestion. To tell the truth, my heart is moving, Zyway. Elysia stared at Zyway with a beautiful eye, excitedly said, I am not the kind of person who likes to control everything in the palm of my hand, I only want to control my future destiny. If this allows me to take the lead in sealing the success, then it's worth doing. You don't have to rush to change, you can do a small experiment first, step by step. This is just an idea, there is still a long way to go from practice. I think you can also discuss with the anthesis. Pope gently patted the back of Elysia's hand to help her calm down the excitement. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 564. No, Zyway. My instincts tell me that the road you revealed is a road that can really help me out of the predicament. I want to start experimenting now and see the feasibility of this road. Elysia became very decisive at this moment, and the infinity, the Lord of the Sun, brought too much pressure on her, and she couldn't wait to make a change. This experiment is not easy to do. The exploration of the source of light, even if you have your help, must be at least a strongman above the master level. The existing morning believers are not suitable for contact before you really determine the doctrine. It is easy to cause them. The belief collapsed. The faith must be unshakable, and the gods can't easily make changes. Before the experiment is completed, it is obviously inappropriate to take a morning believer as a test. Mr. Zyway, I am here to be a guest here. I have no way for this guest, it can only be arranged by your master. Elysia turned her eyes and chose to return the pressure to Zyway. Zyway had a headache. She knew that she would send Eurykia back to Pyle and tell her about it. Now she is obviously relying on her own body, where to find a suitable person to do experiments. First of all, this person must be trustworthy. It must be known that this is related to the core secret of the young Lord of the Morning, even the gods. Once leaked, the consequences are unthinkable. Secondly, this person's strength and soul level cannot be too bad, otherwise it will not be able to withstand the baptism of the light source, it is likely to be lost. In the end, this person must also be determined and persevering, otherwise it will not be able to understand anything from the source of light. These three conditions almost completely eliminated the people I met in Zyway. Natalia is the inheritor of the Golden Lion's blood. She has formed a unique power system and continues to climb, and Natalia's character, I am afraid, will never deliver the faith to any god. Yang and Meryl are apostles who inherit the spirit of the arcane and the road. Zyway is not willing to allow them to embark on the path of the light, and they will not accept it. Freya is the queen of Naga, she has her own future and life. Esmeralda and Jude are too weak, Scarlet will certainly go on the frosty road. Suddenly, 11way's heart glimpsed, and a shadow appeared in front of her eyes. Charlotte, the inheritor of Barlow's blood, has a knight and a mage with the power of the dead bird. She is the second apostle of Zyway and a lover of Zyway in this world. If the feelings of the first two people are still derived from Charlotte's bold confession and beauty, but for more than a year of happy time. After that, they are already the closest relatives and family members. But Charlotte has never been a talented person. Maybe she is very good compared to ordinary people, but compared with the real heavens such as Zyway, Natalia, and Meryl, all her brilliance it became dim. As a magician, she was able to ask Zyway for advice when she had the opportunity. The vast majority of the entire literature, resources, and even the laboratory were open to her, but even so, she was just an advanced high-level magician. Meryl is already a magician and a 5-star arcane master. She is a blood knight, despite the two legendary bloodlines of Barlow and the Immortal, but her growth is not fast. Under the guidance of Natalia and the personal guidance, she is barely able to have the power of the master. There is still a long way to go to become a true master. In this case, all the glory of Charlotte can only be a good wife and a good mother, although she and 11way have no children. She is gentle and considerate, and she is cared for. She is the assistant to the principal and helps Zyway to handle most of the Violet Academy affairs, freeing Zyway from the tedious work. In Violet Castle, she is also responsible for managing all the servants and caring for the whole family. She lives very tired. 11way also knows that she has a deep dislike of the blood of the demon flowing in her body, because her mother is a nun, and although she was detained by the devil, her mother is still holy. When Charlotte was 5 years old, her mother died, but the holy nun has been living in her heart. If there is a choice, she will definitely choose to give up all the demonic blood in the body and cast it on the real light. Zyway sighed, and Charlotte is the best and most suitable candidate for the exploration of the light. How, you already have the right person, looking at the expression of 11way, Ulixia asked with a slight head. I need to talk to her first, please wait for my reply. Zyway said nothing, directly sent to leave Catania and returned directly to Violet. It was the fourth magic time in the afternoon. Charlotte was in the principal's office to handle all kinds of daily affairs, wearing a deep red uniform. She looked so quiet with the blue glasses, quiet in the whole office, only the sound of the brush is moving. After a long time, Charlotte took off his glasses and gently rubbed his eyes with the slender fingers of her white eyes. In her vision, she suddenly had a person who should not have appeared here, but thought about it. Zyway, Charlotte shouted subconsciously. The next moment, her whole person has fallen into a warm and powerful embrace, and then a passionate kiss is printed on her lips. Charlotte took a moment, and when she woke up, she began to give a warm response. After a long time, the two talents finally separated, and Charlotte's exhaustion seemed to disappear. She smiled. Ziwei, what is the important thing that makes you suddenly come back? It's you, Charlotte. Ziwei's voice was low, but very firm. There is one thing that is about your future. I need to consult with you. What is it? Charlotte sat up straight. Ziwei began to tell Charlotte about his conversation with Eurykia and his observations on the whole thing. This will be a bold adventure. There is a certain risk to you. Despite the help of Elysia, there is uncertainty in whether you can gain something in the light source. Whether you can return safely is uncertain, Wei concluded, but the risk is accompanied by high returns. If you can verify the feasibility of the holy light, your future will be limitless. Legend is no longer the limit, but just the beginning. If you really help the Morning Lord, Elysia, to complete the experiment of the holy light, then it can be said that Charlotte will certainly be favored by Elysia. Even if it cannot be her voter, it can easily be from many Morning Dawn believers stand out. Charlotte began to think with his eyes closed. This is a new life path full of uncertainty. Charlotte, haven't you been impatient with this kind of day-to-day work and family busy day after day? What a good opportunity this is, why not try to change it? Charlotte, don't you want to wash away the evil demon blood in your body and master the bright and sacred light? Mother will be pleased with the spirit of heaven. Various thoughts emerged, but Charlotte's will was also firm. She suddenly opened her eyes and calmed down like water. 11 Wei, going on the light of the light, does it mean that I must deliver the faith to the morning the Lord? Ziwei sighed, I think it should be. So if you and the Lord of the morning have conflict or opposition in the future, can I abandon the Lord who is in faith and stand with you? Charlotte once again asked a sharp question. Although Ziwei wanted to say something, he could only shake his head gently. Charlotte showed a pure smile. That's it, Ziwei, thank you for your efforts to help me grow. I want to grow up quickly, but only to fight with you. You are my life. The most important person in the family, if you grow up, means to be separated from you. My answer is no. Ziwei couldn't say anything. He could only hold Charlotte in his arms. The two embraced each other and felt the soul of each other. With the same breath, the fate, never separated. If you don't need to deliver your faith to the Lord of the morning, is it just a simple exploration of the light of the light? Ziwei tightened Charlotte's hands and asked again. I am willing. The hot tears flowed out of Charlotte's eyes. She choked and said, every time I use the power of Barlow's blood, I have a deep sense of guilt. It's like betraying my mother. I can't forgive myself for doing this. 11 Wei gently patted Charlotte's back. She had a tragic childhood. For Charlotte, the mother has become a symbol, deeply imprinted in her soul, perhaps in addition to herself. No one can let her open her heart again. I will negotiate with the Lord of the morning. Ziwei made a solemn promise to Charlotte. This is the man's promise. When Euclid waited for half a magic, she waited for the return of Ziwei, but he has completely changed his appearance. He has a firm momentum and a sense of strength. How do I feel that you are a warrior who is going to rush? Elysia made a joke. Elysia, I have a very suitable candidate for the exploration of the light way, but I must have an arrogant request for you. I hope you are not too angry, Ziwei said sincerely. Who is the candidate? What is the embarrassing request? Elysia gently raised her eyebrows. With the relationship between you and me, most of the requests may not be called predation. The candidate is Charlotte, my lover. A sixth-order knight with the blood of Barlow and the blood of the immortal, and also a five-ring magician. She has a strong affection for the light and will firm. Ziwei introduced. Charlotte, Elysia nodded again and again. She had several contacts with Charlotte. She was obviously very satisfied with this candidate. It is indeed a very suitable candidate. Then say your request, Ziwei. I wonder if Charlotte can't deliver the faith to you. Ziwei finally said it. Elysia's eyes instantly lingered together, and her relaxed sitting posture became quite straightforward. The request of Zaiwei was too bold. The belief is everything for believers. This is simply one. The contraindications of a demigod or are not allowed to bargain against the scales. If the person in front of you is not Zaiwei, it is damn. Zaiwei, I think you should know that any demigod or will not agree to this condition, Ulixia solemnly responded. Zaiwei showed a bitter smile, yes, Ulixia. But Charlotte is my woman, I can't accept her belief in any god, the same, in her heart, there can't be anyone or god than me. More important. Is this the love of a mortal? Ulixia shook her head gently. How many couples promised each other in front of God, their wedding is also held in the church, faith and love are inherent, there is no inevitable conflict. But between me and Charlotte, love is the highest and most true feelings. It can't have any possible embarrassment or threat. Zaiwei replied firmly, I am sorry, Ulixia, if you can't accept it, then maybe you can only choose another suitable person. I will still give you advice, I hope this will not hurt our friendship. You are threatening me, Ulixia's voice suddenly increased, and she stood up, you want to alienate our friendship for a woman, even your lover, I always thought that you are a man who is ambitious, even if the true God can't satisfy your pursuit, but now, you are emotional because of a love belonging to a mortal. Yeah, this is the feeling of mortal, you can't understand the natural sacredness. Zaiwei shrugged, I have my persistence, Ulixia. I can meet this in my life, lovers can have such a beautiful relationship, that is the highest glory, no less than your success in the seal, the meaning between the stars. I. Ulixia shook her head in confusion, you let me down, Zaiwei. The angry Ulixia went away and left the castle. 11 Wei sighed and he did not regret the decision he made. The young man of the morning, Ulysses, is a very powerful and very reliable ally, but his future path and destiny are in his own hands. Although it is impossible to let Charlotte go to the light of the holy light, in the future, I will definitely compensate her for a more suitable and powerful force. What's wrong? I seem to have heard your quarrel with Ulixia. Natalia walked in with a look of gossip, holding a bag of melon seeds in her hand, a curious expression of eating melons. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 565. She said that I am emotional, and I have my insistence, Zaiwei explained, yes, a little conflict, maybe our morning lord will soon leave here, and will never come back. Under the insistence of Natalia, Zaiwei had to tell the cause and effect of the matter. Natalia took a look at the shoulders of Zaiwei and said with excitement, you are doing it right, Zaiwei, I support your decision. I really didn't expect that the relationship between you and Charlotte would have reached this level of sorrow. I am so angry, my weight in Charlotte's heart will never compare with you. Natalia began to be serious, but the topic soon found out that I didn't know where to go. Zaiwei recalled the conversation with Ulixia just now, and had to admit that he had a bias in her evaluation and cognition. In Zaiwei's view, Ulixia is the Lord of the Morning, a demigod, and the leader of the Morning Church. From the field of political exchange, although the faith is very important, it is not impossible to talk about it. But just now, the performance of Ulixia is more like a woman's thinking, which is the important reason for the collapse of this negotiation. A little negligence, a negligible negotiation, Zaiwei gently shook his head, or hope that after Ulixia calmed down, rationality can prevail. Ulixia left the Catania castle with enthusiasm. She walked alone on the street where people came and went, and the foot seemed to be a quick wind. She also decided to be a bit puzzling about her own impulsive emotions, but it seems to be taken for granted. However, it seems that it has collapsed with Zaiwei, and it is clear that both parties exchanged or cooperated before the two were very happy. A feeling of being uncomfortable poured into the chest, very depressed, and Ulixia was a little overwhelmed. She was the first to appear this kind of emotion. She wants to understand this problem, but it is difficult to find someone to ask. In the end, she suddenly thought of a suitable candidate, so she went directly to Palermo. The once chaotic city of Palermo has been completely under the Order of the Violet. Although it was less than a month before the defeat of the Marquis of Giovanni, the whole city has completely changed. Large areas of the damp and cold slums were all rebuilt under the influence of the earth magic, and they became a uniform block, with houses, shops, markets, and various functional buildings. The slum upgrading plan was led by Esmeralda and Jude, who brought earth-shaking changes to their hometowns and homes that had lived for more than a decade. All the poor have moved into the new house with joy, and they will live a healthy life in the sun instead of living again. The person Iuliaja was looking for was Rose Duke Sophie. As the master of music, she was not idle during this time. She is spreading music beliefs in Sicily. At this moment, she is just in the Palermo Opera House. Guided a group of singers, harpsichords, and guitarists who have just developed into believers. Sophie had just completed an impassioned, violent harpsichord. At the moment she stopped, all the men and women around them had a warm applause. They were so intoxicated in the performance of the music master. The belief is further deepened. Sophie sensed the arrival of Ulicia. She gave a slight glimpse and immediately told the surrounding believers, "You should practice for a while, try to master this score, and wait for me to test your level." Sophie was dressed in a rose-red dress, looking elegant and enthusiastic, and she was very busy and happy during this time. Under the efforts of her and the Musicians' Association, she developed in a short time more than 1,000 new believers. It is important to know that music hobbies and beliefs are extravagant to most ordinary people, and they are longing for inaccessibility. Her choice of believers has always been very narrow. This time it was able to develop so quickly, and it also relied on the charm of pop music. "Ulicia, how can I come to see me?" Sophie gently combed his hair on his ear and asked curiously. "Why, I can't come to see old friends," Ulicia said, not too happy. "Hey, who is irritating to our Lord of the Morning?" Sophie cordially pulled Ulicia's hand and the two went to the inner lounge. This lounge is small and exquisite, with a touch of rose fragrance. It is the space of Sophie's own. At this point, Ulicia also relaxed the tight body. "Who is it?" "Of course, Ziwei, the idiot demon girl is unintentional." "Stupid," Sophie grinned and said, "I can't really associate the word stupid with Ziwei." "What happened?" Ulicia did not conceal anything. She directly told Sophie about the negotiations between her and Ziwei. She still said with enthusiasm, "Ziwei actually said to me, love is the highest and most true feelings, different. There are any embarrassments or threats. He actually wants a mortal to practice my future path to the true God, but does not deliver faith to me." "Sophie, how do you think about it?" Sophie did not answer, but looked at Ulicia seriously, and carefully looked at her face. Ulicia's incomprehensible question, "What are you looking at, why not talk?" Sophie supported her chin with one hand and said with emotion, "Ulicia, I have known you for so long, this is the most trait I see when you belong to people." Ulicia was amazed and didn't know why Sophie shifted the subject. "Are you really angry that the woman named Charlotte is not delivering faith to you? If the candidate proposed by Ziwei is another man you are not familiar with or related to," Sophie looked at the big eyes curiously. She said faintly, "Of course, I am." Ulicia's words were interrupted, and she suddenly found the crux of her anger. "Ulicia, do you know why you were angry?" "There is a word to describe it, that is. During the time of being friends and allies with Ziwei, you should have deep enough feelings with him. Although you don't know, but this is already a good feeling. Have you found that when you get along with Ziwei during this time, the smile on your face has increased?" Sophie unceremoniously pointed out the root cause of the problem. "How is it possible? Ulicia is like an irritated cock. How can I like a mortal? How can I be jealous? I am a natural spirit, I am the Lord of the Morning, I am the future goddess of light. If I have love, it is also a fraternity for all believers and people, and it is not such a narrow love between men and women. Elysia, we can all be called a natural spirit, I am a note, and you are the dawn. The born spirit is a half-god, has a long to almost endless life, has a very high soul level. There is only one level of difference from the real God. But this step is so long and difficult. You and I are even more difficult than the ordinary mortal. Sophie looked to the distance. I said with emotion, what is God like? Is it like ordinary people who have the same feelings, or do they just look at the interests like businessmen or politicians? Or do they just follow the rules and settings like the construction machinery? I am the Lord of Glory. Ms. Unyu has done some exploration. From the news that I can't be sure of authenticity, I can feel that both the glorious Lord and Ms. Unyu have the same feelings as human beings. They will have the same preference. Anger, concerned. For a natural spirit like us, perhaps human feelings are by no means pure useless garbage. I was born a human being, and the fate of Sophie Mathilde is completely integrated. This is a kind of misfortune and a kind of luck. Unfortunately, I lost most of my power. My personal combat ability is so weak that it is simply the shame of the demigod. Fortunately, I grew up as a person, and I have a real passion, which allows me to understand more things that the natural spirit is easy to ignore and miss. Elysia, if you want to really seal God, you may need to make up this lesson. It is said that Ziwei is indeed a very good man. He will definitely write a strong stroke in the history of Orient. You can consider developing a relationship with him and try to taste the love. Sophie smiled and persuaded the Lord of the Morning, just like cheating the little girl to steal the forbidden fruit. I am Rikia, the goddess of light, the Lord of the future morning. No, in short, I will never waste precious time, to fall in love with something. I should not come to you at all. Elysia disappeared instantly. Oh, Sophie gently smothered the white little floral shoes, a pair of slender asterisks swaying gently, with a full-fledged style. For the demigod, the mortal who can see the eye has geometry. It's rare to be able to meet one. It's already a lucky one. Why don't you try it out? Right, Sophie's starpot. Elysia, who left the Palermo Opera House, was ashamed and angry. She was very unacceptable to the speech of Sophie, the music master. However, her heart was instigated, so she did something that she would not have done. Found another person. Elysia. How come you are in my room? Ziwei is still worried that you have returned to Pai Li. Natalia was pleasantly greeted. You seem to have known the conversation between me and Ziwei. Elysia was right. Yes, when Ziwei told me, he still regretted it. Natalia squinted and said, maybe now he has already set off for Par, to apologize to you. As long as she opened her sensibility as the Lord of the Morning, she could naturally realize that Ziwei was still in the city of Catania, but at the moment she has lost most of her logical thinking ability and felt a moment of attention in her heart. Surging, don't go too far and say, I don't need his apology. Natalia was in front of her eyes and quickly picked up and pulled Elysia. They sat side by side on a soft and comfortable sofa. Elysia, although we don't have much contact, it should already be good friend. I am very grateful for the inheritance from the Grand Master, but I am afraid I will not be able to break through the master level. That was just a little gift. Ulysses finally remembered the original intention of coming here. You are the fiancé of Ziwei, Nada. For the love between Ziwei and Charlotte, is there no emotion called? Of course I have it, Natalia replied exaggeratedly. I am so embarrassed. I am in the summer. No, in short, I am very jealous that the two of them are so close. What is the feeling of sputum? What kind of reaction will there be in the body? Ulrich continued to ask seriously. The chest is very stuffy, Natalia thought as she put her hand on her chest, but quickly moved to the chest of Elysia. The eyes are sore, I want to cry, I am angry, I am desperate. Ulyxia's heart is cold, finished, and completely corresponding. It seems that it is really a kind of emotion called on her own. To know that Eulalia is the first light in the world of Orient. The spirit of nature, she really began to be the Lord of the morning and has a human form, or in a very close time. Bishop Anthas has been accompanying and influenced her personality during this time, almost playing the role of a father, but Eulalia has very few human feelings, many times the expression is like an actor. The performance, but not the fake, but not. Eulalia suddenly felt that I didn't know when it was, my feelings filled up day by day, laughter began to become natural, from the heart, worry and fear, high morale and pride, everything is going to a real people like the 7 emotions and 6 desires to change. All the experience of the past period was as vivid as the rapid replay. Ulysses finally found the root of everything. The first sight from the meditation room of the Notre Dame of Par was derived from the man, Master Zaiwei. Although it was only a profit exchange at the beginning, although the connection and feelings at the beginning were very thin, with one thing, the relationship between the two sides continued to deepen, and the communication between the two sides became more and more frequent until the construction of the ST Light rune system. Help yourself solve the biggest problem of expanding your faith. He went deep into his own core of light, and the two sides carried out the deepest level of soul exchange and getting along, which far exceeded the asterisk level, but also had excellent phase. From that moment, the relationship between the two sides began to deepen. All the way to the abyss of today. Do you really have a good impression on 11 Way? Do you really want to talk to him about a relationship? Eulalia was upset, and she decided to leave quiet and leave Violet for a while. Eulalia, do you want to see Charlotte? I think you should be able to talk about it. Natalia suddenly had an idea. To be continued.